See this NFL season end on Tuesday. In fact, you have some very real feelings about it because you were involved as a player.
I certainly was, Dick. But I think what's happened now is we may well have the wrong people at the table. I think both sides, owners and players, have stacked it with hardliners and militants. Perhaps it's time to put players at that table and owners at that table who better reflect the mainstream of thought and who are willing to negotiate rather than to posture and let the egos do their talking for them.
That's interesting. Paul McGuire, another ex-player, had the same feelings. Just wipe the slate clean, bring in new people that want to settle this thing rather than arguing. Well, let's talk about today's game, but thank goodness we are going to have a game today. The weather is beautiful outside here in Seattle. It's a shame that we are indoors. Kansas City, a team that had to live with the past, and new coach Frank Gann said, I'm going out and get some new faces.
He brought in a couple of powerful ones offensively. Christian Okoye, a power running back who went over 100 yards in his first start in a regular season game as a rookie. And Paul Palmer, 95 yards to clinch the game with a kickoff return. They will be a factor today.
Well, here in Seattle, they introduced the defense, and the biggest cheer went to number 55. No, wait, number 44. You know, the guy, the land of Boz, they call it up here, Brian Bosworth. And
he Boz has changed his number. He started with a 55 in the pregame, and later on when they introduced him, he'd gone to a 44. Well, that's showbiz. That's showbiz at its best.
Well, he got a court injunction, actually, to wear 44. And, in fact, that injunction was served to the officials saying that it's okay, you can wear 44. I guess his company is 44 Boz, Inc. or something.
Well, I got to tell you this. Chuck Knox is more concerned about the defense played by his team. They gave up 40 points against Denver. They did not play well offensively in the second half. If they're going to win today, they got to play some better football.
The new head coach in Kansas City, replacing John Makovic, of course, his number is 48-year-old Frank Gann. Gann is a motivator. We met with him last night, a man who verbally is very strong. The players love him, and in fact, as a special teams coach, the other players used to go in to hear his pep talks. His second NFL game, a winner last week at home at Arrowhead against San Diego. And Chuck Knox, a 55-year-old head mentor of the Seattle Seahawks, a win today would move him into the number 10 spot all-time in career wins. You see Dave Craig as quarterback in front of him. He's currently tied with Weeb Eubank, number 10. Eubank gave Knox his first NFL job. The kickoff is sponsored by Budweiser, the king of beers. The deep men for Seattle. Bobby Joe Edmonds, number 30, the man to watch. Randall Morris, Nick Lowry. Now Kansas City kicks it off. The second game of the NFL season underway. Edmonds at the 4. Edmonds stopped just across the 20-yard line, and the Seahawks take the field. Dave Craig, the quarterback. He had a good first half last week in Denver, but shut out in the second. Kurt Warner, who ran for over 80 yards in the first half, and he too quiet in the second half. John L. Williams, the big blocking back. Steve Largent, 140 consecutive games with the catch. Darrell Turner, the touchdown maker. The tight end is Mike Tice. Big offensive line of Mattis, Bailey, Bush, Millard, and Wilson. First down from the 22. The brilliant player out of Penn State, Kurt Warner, starts as he did in the first half last week. Here's the defense, a 4-3 alignment. That's almost a dinosaur in the NFL. Art Still, Bill Moss, Pete Koch, Mike Bell, all number ones drafted out of college. Cooper, Hackett, and Cofield, the linebackers. Hackett, second-year man, is brilliant. And there, some say, could be eventually the best back four ever. Lewis Ross, Burris, and Cherry. They are brilliant. Short yardage on first down for the Seahawks. Art Still, the veteran defensive left end, in the thick of the pile, as Warner a gain of 3.
Kurt Warner runs well on natural turf, but he is much quicker on the artificial turf. And his adjustments, those rapid cuts inside and outside, and he will do either one. He'll cut back against the grain, or he will bounce outside, which makes it particularly difficult for a defense to handle him.
In his debut, he rushed for 207 yards against Kansas City. That is a Seattle club record. Craig's first pass to the tight end Tice, and he's wrapped up by Tim Cofield, number 54. Gain of only 2.
Cofield looks like they structured him with one of those buzz saws, a chainsaw. Have you ever seen those things that they shape that way? Huge muscles, I'll tell you that. Wearing a plastic shield to protect his eyes.
Cofield, who played at Elizabeth City State of North Carolina, 245-pounder. Scansey and Butler to the right. Largent and Turner to the left. On 3rd down and 5. And that's something that Craig had trouble with in Denver, the big defensive lineman, and Craig not very tall at 6 feet. And one of those big charging defensive linemen able to bat it down, incomplete, and Seattle will have to give up the ball.
This defensive line averages over 6'5" a man. It's going to be Bill Moss rejecting this throw, the sidearm throw. Watch this. Craig drops it down. That keeps the ball from getting up in the air, but I think Moss would have had it anyway, even if he'd gone over the top.
Rookie Ruben Rodriguez kicked at Arizona, and that's Michael Clemens down at the 20, and just does get it away. Albert Lewis, who's a great kick blocker, and a flag goes down as Clemens, the rookie, is dumped at the 30-yard line.
Quite possibly an illegal block in the back there as they reached Clemens.
Grant Fiesel made the tackle for Seattle on a 33-yard punt. Fiesel, who gave up 55 to Brian Bosworth, and now Bosworth has given up 55 to get his old college number 44.
He was pretty generous about it. He said his son Sean wasn't old enough to read yet, so he didn't care that much about numbers.
Bosworth, I kind of like 55. 44 plus 11 million makes 55.
On the play, it's 1st down.
No penalty, so Kansas City owns the pumpkin for the first time at the 32-yard line, and Todd Blackledge heads into the huddle. Blackledge with Herman Hurd, number 44, Christian Okoye, the 250-pound rookie, Carson and Page, the wideouts, and Walt Arnold, the tight end, Alt Baldinger, Donnelly, Addix, and Lutz, the offensive line. Play action. Blackledge has a man, incomplete. Intended for Stephon Page, and Patrick Hunter, who did not start last week at Denver, had a knee injury, makes the defensive play. And Hunter, very tight defense.
We'll see a lot of play action. This Kansas City team runs the ball effectively. That makes the play action stronger. Good job of faking right there, but watch the defensive hit. Simply strips that ball away. Good timing by Patrick Hunter. You can see why he was missed last week in Denver.
And checking the injury on the sidelines, I believe it was Page, the receiver, going for the ball. Stephon, who played his college football at Fresno State, in the shadow of more highly regarded Henry Ellard, who was a 2nd-round draft pick of the Rams, with Page in his own rights, has been a terrific performer in Kansas City. In fact, a couple of years ago, 309 yards set an NFL record in a game against San Diego.
Here's that collision. Contact with the artificial turf, as so often it does. Your body doesn't slide. You get down there, the hands catch, the feet catch. Very often it's that turf itself that does the damage. I think that's why players almost unanimously do not like artificial turf.
Apparently Page is all right. Let's check the Seattle defense, Merlin. Jacob Green, Joe Nash, Jeff Bryant. They did not pressure John Elway last week, and will be motivated. At least their coaches hope so today. Schultz, Young, Bosworth, and Gaines, the linebackers. Terry Taylor and Hunter at the corners with Kenny Easley and Eugene Robinson, the safety. 2nd down, 10. Okoye stumbling as he took the handoff, maybe a yard into the arms of Jeff Bryant. And Okoye not getting up.
Okoye does a nosedive into that turf, and again may have injured himself. He is such a big, powerful back, just literally drives through people. Tom Catlin, the defensive coordinator for the Seahawks, said, you know, you watch the film, he goes in on a nothing play, and then you realize that he's made 5 yards. So powerful, 253 pounds, 6'3", runs a 4.44 40. That's faster than most of the little outside receivers. Hooked his feet on the turf. Now watch him as he goes into the ground, tries to catch himself. Often that's the way players are hurt when they try and catch themselves on that turf, end up stretching that shoulder of the arm.
Bill Kenny comes in at quarterback on 3rd and long, 3rd and 9. Larry Moriarty replaces Okoye. Frank Gann said he is not at all hesitant about putting Kenny in a la relief pitcher. He'll put him in 3rd and long. He had a man open but couldn't hit him. Carlos Carson was open, but the pass was short.
What a tough job for Bill Kenny to come without a warm-up, without being in the flow of the game, asked to come off the bench and immediately throw a pass. I think that's asking a great deal of the quarterback, and we have not seen many successful quarterback rotations. In fact, when was the last time you saw one, Dick?
Not in that kind of situation where on the same down sequence you'll use one quarterback for a couple of plays, get in 3rd and long, and go to the better passer of the two. Here's Colbert's punt. Wobbly kick to Edmonds at the 30. 40. Edmonds all the way to the 45-yard line.
These two teams may well have, if not the two best units of special teams in the NFL, at least teams that are right at the top of their game.
Like many before, you came here asking for just one.
Okay, I'm on the other mic now, all right?
A chance.
Pronounce Shidwoski. You're gonna make it here, 'cause you make America work, and this fight's for you.
Here's to you, Beechwood Age, for that clean, crisp taste
Hey, Sid.
that says Budweiser.
This Bud's for you.
Yeah, I know I need life insurance, but I hate spending money on something I hope I'll never use and won't be around to enjoy if it ever is used.
Leave it to the good hands, people.
Allstate has life insurance that pays you for living. Allstate Universal Life. It protects your family if you die, and it can provide competitive earnings for your retirement.
So, my family's set if I'm gone, and I'm in the money if I stick around. I think I'll stick around.
You're in good hands with Allstate.
A member of the Sears Financial Network.
Listen to the heartbeat.
It's the first all-new full-size pickup introduced in this decade. The advanced new Chevy with more cab room than Ford, plus a brand new extended cab.
Rough, tough, working stuff. Feel the heartbeat of America. Next today's Chevy truck.
Take the test drive of the decade in the new full-size Chevy.
The heartbeat of America. Next today's Chevy truck.
Last week in Denver, Edmonds did not get a chance to return a punt.
Does a great job of faking out Jack Del Rio, number 50 here. This is a middle return, and Edmonds with great quickness surprised the Kansas City defenders by bursting back up the middle instead of going outside of the picket line.
Edmonds,
Smart special teams play.
he led the league in punt returns last year with a 12-3 average, gets 25 yards on his first of 1987. Ball at the 45 of Kansas City. Underneath the coverage to Warner, a gain of 4. Tim Cofield with a tackle.
Talking to the Kansas City coaches, in particular John Paul Young, a defensive coordinator who's played against Knox's teams many times. He said Knox traditionally will play a close to the vest offense coming out of his own territory, but as he moves out past the 50-yard line, he changes his style, becomes much more aggressive.
Second down and 6 for Chuck Knox's Seahawks. Warner Nothing there. No gain. Stacked up by Dino Hackett, number 56, a 228-pound middle linebacker from Appalachian State. Largent, 2 catches today, gives him 700. He's closing in on a short-lived NFL record of Charlie Joyner, who finished with 750. 945 yards to set the NFL record in that regard. Joyner holds it, and 13 touchdowns to catch Don Hudson. He needs 1 to tie Don Maynard for the number 2 spot. And he's caught a pass in an NFL record 140 straight games. Paul Scansey, complete at the 29-yard line. Albert Lewis on the coverage.
They call Paul Scansey a Largent clone. He's working one-on-one on Albert Lewis, one of the finest coverage men in the NFL. But Scansey gets room to the inside. The pass thrown perfectly by Craig, and a first down for Seattle.
The first serious threat of the game with 9.5 minutes remaining first quarter. Fake end around to Largent. Craig with a good scramble and out of bounds at the 23-yard line. A pickup of about 6.
When you can get away from Art Still with those 39.5-inch arms, you've really done something.
Cleveland beating up on Pittsburgh at home. The Bears with Walter Payton breaking Jim Brown's rushing touchdown NFL record. Win 20-3. And there are the rest of the finals. San Francisco, Miami, Atlanta. Surprise winner over the Redskins. Oh, my. Houston a 3-point lead late. Warner. Not much there at the 20-yard line. It'll be short of a first down by a long yard.
One of the toughest jobs accorded to that Seattle offensive line is Brian Millard's job, working on All-Pro Bill Moss, and he does a fine job of turning Moss. Moss, of course, earned All-Pro honors as a nose tackle, and now in the 4-3 alignment has moved outside. And Blair Bush said, "Boy, I sure am sorry to see that All-Pro move out and line up on you, Brian."
Third and a tough yard. Warner. He's got it. To the 18-yard line. Kevin Ross, 31 on that right corner, made the tackle.
Even though Kurt Warner makes the first down here, be aware of the great inside-out pursuit of this Kansas City defense. They really fly laterally. Good block right there on the inside, but Warner is met almost at the line of scrimmage and used his strength really to push Kevin Ross further downfield to pick up that first down.
Warner, who was a college roommate of Todd Blackledge, the starting quarterback for Kansas City at Penn State. And he's able to stay on his feet, pick up about 5 to the 13-yard line. Well, down in San Francisco, you fans that are joining us, you have to be already happy on this Sunday with Joe Montana hitting Jerry Rice on the last play of the game in Cincinnati to give the 49ers a 27-26 win.
You saw those numbers for Warner last week, a -1 yard in the second half against Denver, partly because they got behind and they had to throw the football, but they want to be able to use his running ability throughout the game. They've got to do a better job of mixing their plays.
This time it's John L. Williams getting the call, and the big fullback hammers down to the 10-yard line. Pete Koch, 74. Dino Hackett, 56, in on the tackle.
Kurt Warner becomes the blocker in this situation. Goes outside. A nice block right there. Tim Cofield. Now let's watch Mike Bell playing in that stand-up end position. Unusual. We'll do more with that later on. Mattis doing a good job of pushing him outside. Close to a first down. About 2 yards to go on a third down situation.
Drags knocked down by Mike Bell, number 99. Bell, after a prison term of over a year, back with the Kansas City Chiefs, and makes a big defensive sack on that play.
He said the thing that kept him growing all last year was thinking about being back on the football field. Lifted weights, ran 6 days a week. Well, it's paid off for him. You see the strength and the power there as he pulls out of the block and out of the grasp of Ron Mantis to get the sack on Dave Craig.
Norm Johnson, who kicked his only field goal 25 yards last week in Denver, and he's got this one. From 34 yards out, Seattle on the board first, midway through the first quarter under the Kingdom.
What's the longest lasting battery you can buy? I'm gonna surprise ya! New Energizer! Sound surpriser! New Energizer! Oh, it's up the test! New Energizer was best! Lasted longer than all the rest! Too right! New Energizer! New Energizer! It'll surprise ya! It'll surprise ya!
Laboratory tests prove in most devices, Energizer lasts longer than any other battery. New Energizer. Aye. An American tradition continues when the Tigers face the Blue Jays or the Cardinals meet the Cubs. The memories are waiting next Saturday.
Seattle moving 45 yards for the field goal. Took 10 plays as they hammered it out basically on the ground. And now Norm Johnson will kick it off to Paul Palmer. Palmer, who returned at 95 yards in the fourth quarter late to win at Arrowhead last Sunday against San Diego. #1 draft pick out of Temple, and very happy today, his alma mater, with a big upset over Pittsburgh yesterday. He was the 19th player picked in this draft this spring. Johnson, noted for his high, long kickoffs, mortars this one down to the 2. Palmer! Oh, the last man, Paul Moyer, drags him down. No, it wasn't Moyer.
It was the kicker. It was the kicker that got him first.
Novin Jenkins, 24, helping out Johnson as Palmer, streaking, almost turned it all away.
Good coverage, even better blocking. Look how they lump all the Seattle Seahawks together, and Palmer explodes through there. There's Norm Johnson getting a piece of him, and Jenkins finishing him off. One more step, he's through that seam, and he may be gone.
31-yard return. Kansas City begins at the 33. Blackledge back at quarterback. Throwing on first down. Screen to Okoye. Down at the 39-yard line. Knife down by Fred Young, the linebacker, who had a bundle of tackles in Denver last week. Cleveland apparently going to be a winner. The Bears have won again. Denver and Green Bay in overtime tied. San Francisco on the last play beat Cincinnati. Miami a winner at Indianapolis. Atlanta, big upset of Washington. Houston a 3-point lead, and Philadelphia has defeated New Orleans. Late games, Giants score early, and the Raiders have a field goal lead in Los Angeles against the Lions. Here it's 3-0 Seattle. Okoye breaking through the line and close to a first down. Joe Nash making the tackle along with Jacob Green. A couple other scores. Minnesota scoring in Anaheim to take an early lead, and San Diego gets 2 on the board quickly against St. Louis at home.
Looks like they're going to measure. We talked about Okoye's strength, his ability to drag would-be tacklers along the ground. He came here as a track athlete. He came here as a discus thrower from his home in Nigeria. His dream was to be in the 1984 Olympics on the Nigerian team. Had never played football, played a little soccer. He has only played 3 years of organized football, and that in a very small school, NAIA, Azusa Pacific. But he has become a player and gets better every week.
Now the wave is on in the Kingdome. It was a first down. Okoye to the 46-yard line, a gain of a couple. Greg Gaines, Joe Nash, and plenty of help for the Seahawks. Okoye 6'1.5" and 253 pounds. Look at the thighs.
You know, Dick, he could, when he came here, he could long jump over 25 feet. Let's look at the power here. It takes a lot of blue shirts to stop him. I think they've got their adrenaline pumping. 56 gains from the outside, 77 Bryant, and then a bunch of others to finally get him shut down.
Okoye. Who? Down at the 48-yard line, a yard and a half shy of a first down.
One of the things he did not do well in college was catch the football. They had a hard enough time, they said, teaching him how to run the football. Didn't worry about his blocking or catching. They have taken him aside here. They've worked with him at Kansas City. He has become an excellent receiver. This young man is very bright, learns extremely quickly.
He's had 17 NAIA small college titles in the discus, shot put, and hammer. Now it's the opposition trying to throw him around. Okoye again. I don't think he made it. And may have fumbled. We'll see if the whistle had blown it dead. The play is dead. Joe Nash came up with the ball.
He's going to be short. And as you might guess, when you hadn't played football before, fumbling could be a problem. He had problems in college, fumbled the football 58 times as a collegian, or he has not fumbled yet as a professional. I say yet, it's bound to happen. That obviously not a fumble. The ground cannot cause a fumble, and he was well on the ground before that ball popped loose.
Good defense by the Seahawks. Lewis Colbert to punt. Bobby Joe Edmonds deep. Beautiful kick toward the sidelines. Well, the angle may not be
the
all
angle's
that good.
not too good. It'll be outside the 20. The right idea, execution not quite so good as he anticipated.
25-yard punt, and Seattle begins at its 23-yard line with a timeout. 3:39 left in the opening period.
The clock strikes 6:30, babe. Time to head for golden lights. It's a good time for the great taste dinner at McDonald's. It's Mac night. Come on, make it Mac tonight.
The advanced new Chevy half-ton is all new. Ford isn't. And the advantages stack up. Chevy gives you new two-tier loading. Ford doesn't. More two-sided galvanized steel. A bigger, heavier frame. And on top of it all, more standard power with Vortec V6. Want a load of new features? Test drive the first all-new full-size pickup introduced in this decade.
The heartbeat of America.
The advanced new full-size Chevy.
That's today's Chevy truck.
No better value? Right. You get the newest 386 technology in our Tandy 4000 at an incredible price.
386 technology?
Yes, it's faster, more powerful, and it runs today's MS-DOS and tomorrow's OS2 software.
What about desktop publishing?
It's easy. With our laser printer, the Tandy 4000 gives you professional results every time.
I see. Better value.
Tandy Computers, because there is no better value. Only at Radio Shack Computer Centers.
An unprecedented week-long journey through China begins Friday on NBC News.
From Azusa Pacific, remember the old Jack Benny show? They used to have the train call to Anaheim, Azusa, and Cucamonga. Well, the train stopped in Azusa for Okoye.
No question about that. I talked to his coach, Jim Milhon. He had an interesting story about Okoye. Said he calls him quite often. Okoye told him that he had bought a goat. Now, what's Phil finish that there?
Kurt Warner, short yardage. So Okoye went out and bought a goat in Kansas City?
Well, his coach first thought he said a boat. He said, what are you doing with a boat in Kansas? He said, no, coach, a goat. He said, well, where are you going to keep it? There was a long silence on the phone. He said, coach, it's in the refrigerator, in the freezer. He bought it to eat it. And, of course, coming from Nigeria, goat is a delicacy for him. And he went down to the stockyards in Kansas City. They were selling them for $25. He said, it's too good to miss.
Spend some of that bonus money. Darnell Williams coming back to the 32-yard line will be short of a first down after a 5-yard gain. Couple of scores to check on in the NFL on this second week. Dallas has kicked a field goal, and no score change in Los Angeles, where the Raiders lead. Minnesota, no change there, nor in San Diego.
At the beginning of our show, Dick, you mentioned the 4-3 alignment of this Kansas City defense. It does create problems for an offense. They're so used to playing against 3-4 defenses, they have to kind of rethink their blocking patterns against the 4-3.
Over the top, Kurt Warner, first down. Dino Hackett, 56, meeting him head on, but Warner, oops, he's gone out holding that shoulder. You remember he injured his shoulder at Denver last week.
I asked him in practice yesterday how that shoulder was. He said it's okay for now, but you can see that he bumped it twice on that play, and that arm is, he is in pain on the sideline.
Randall Morris, 43, replaces Warner. Breaks first down pass. Down he goes under the pressure of that Kansas City rush. Spearheading Art Still, number 67, who started this season with 67 career sacks. A great All-American out of Kentucky and a Pro Bowler 4 times. Still has his first sack of 87.
Lloyd Burris, safety, right there along with Still. Still just drove right over the top of his tackle to get in there. Excellent work as he went over Mike Wilson on that last play.
Greg sacked only once last week in Denver. 2 times already in this first quarter by Kansas City. Out of the backfield, Williams. Kevin Ross needed a second chance to bring him down, a 10-yard gain. That will bring up 3rd down and 9 for the Seahawks, who lead 3-0 with a minute left in the opening quarter.
Good, smart offensive call. Not trying to get the whole yardage with one big bite. They wanted half of it. They got half of it. Now they'll try for the first down. You see Warner, Jim Weitzel, a trainer, working on that shoulder. I have an idea that's probably a burning nerve kind of situation for him, as you saw him trying to get that shoulder to work and get some of the sting out of there before they let him come back into the game.
Wide open, Ray Butler to the 40 of Kansas City before Albert Lewis can make the tackle.
Well, the offensive strategy paid off. They picked up half the yardage the first time around. They come right back with excellent protection on the blitz and get the ball down to Butler. Boy, we didn't see any Kansas City Chiefs in evidence until he had taken 4 or 5 steps. Obviously, someone out of construction defensively.
Now they had Largent and Turner on the other side, and no one picked up Butler. The end of the first quarter in Seattle, the Seahawks with a field goal lead.
How does the advanced new Chevy half-ton stand up to Ford? Chevy gives you more standard power than Ford, more cab room, more shoulder room, more 2-sided galvanized steel, new 2-tier loading, and a bigger, heavier frame. So how does Ford stand up to the first all-new full-size pickup introduced in this decade?
Not very well.
The heartbeat of America.
Test drive it.
That's today's Chevy truck.
The years have passed, we face the task. Those boys I called my men. I wonder, could the ties we made now join us once again?
Let American Airlines Super Savers take you to the special moments in your life.
The feelings we all share. We're American Airlines, something special in the air.
This evening, Ken Edwards had a vision of the future. Not of time travel or cities in space, but of his family. His daughter practicing law. His wife heading her own business. Himself retired, writing detective stories. This evening, Ken Edwards had a vision of the future and knew what it would take to get him there.
Daddy!
plans for investments and protection from the equitable. We have great plans for you.
Next Sunday, the NFL plays here when the Patriots battle the Redskins.
Before your team takes the field, our team hits the air. NFL Live.
Kurt Warner has a rib bruise and that shoulder injury, but back in the lineup. The first quarter statistics and the bottom line, time of possession. Of course, Kansas City with the running game hoping to keep the ball. Not the case in the first quarter. In Seattle with a 3-0 lead and the ball as we open the second period. First down at the 40 of the Chiefs. Warner drawing a crowd. Dino Hackett, starter every game as a rookie last year. He's put on 20 pounds since last season. A number 2 draft pick last year, and what a young player he is.
Let's watch the pursuit by number 56, Dino Hackett, right in the middle of your screen. Now watch him as he'll read the play and just start to the outside. A very quick reaction by Hackett, who needs to get away from Blair Bush, the center. Notice how he just pushes him away and then stays square to the line. Lots and lots of help on that particular play. Tim Cofield, the other linebacker, doing a great job as well.
The quickie to Butler and a first down at the 26. 12 more yards for Ray Butler.
Really a nice job of reading the defense and getting that play off. Tim Cofield, number 54, the linebacker, all over the top of Craig as he threw that ball, and that hurts a little bit. Last year, in one 4-week period, Cofield put out 3 different linebackers: Mark Wilson, Jim Kelly, and Dan Fouts.
Yeah, there they are
right there. KO'd 3 of them in 4 weeks, and with good clean hits. He is a physical specimen.
John L. Williams slamming to the 23-yard line. Cofield 54, Mike Bell 99 in on the stop.
John L. Williams, about as hard-nosed a football player as you'll find in the NFL, and that collision that we could hear clear up here, part of that was with Cofield. Dino Hackett inside. Good block on him right there. Ed Bailey dumped him on his back. Really a nice block by the guard.
Williams, who blocked for Neil Anderson at Florida. Anderson has touchdown again today for the Chicago Bears. Second and 7 for Craig. He's going for 6 to Tice, almost intercepted. Albert Lewis had his hands on it in the end zone. Lewis and this back 4 for Kansas City have been just brilliant the last 3 years plus.
Tice hurt on this play, which would be a blow to the Seahawks, who really don't have an extra pass-catching tight end. That's the kind that defensive backs remember in the middle of the night. A chance to intercept. He looked like the receiver. As you see Tice being helped off the field. Looks like an ankle, and he has had ankle problems in the past.
Not replaced by a tight end. Paul Scansey comes in. 4 wideouts. They start with 3 of them on the left, with Larson nearest the sideline, and bring him in motion. Hasn't caught a pass yet. Underneath to Turner, but very short yardage. Not enough for the first down. Play did not fool the Kansas City defense. Kevin Ross and Albert Lewis, the 2 cornerbacks, drawn right to the receiver. In comes Norm Johnson, and another field goal try.
One of the advantages this Kansas City defensive backfield has is that they have played together now for 4 years. They don't have to ask a lot of questions back there. They're able to anticipate each other. They know where those other defenders are going to be.
39-yard attempt out of the hold of Jeff Kemp for Johnson, who hit on a 34-yarder in the first quarter. Crossbar and bounces back, no good. A knuckleball by Johnson, appeared to have no chance and almost wiggled through.
Well, let's not blame it on Johnson. It was a poor snap. It's a poor snap. Kemp has trouble getting the ball and putting it down. Johnson's timing is interrupted. Kicks the knuckler, but watch how close it comes. Last week, they got an extra point in after being deflected. Not so lucky here.
Timeout, 11:59 left in the first half.
It's not too late to do something about the Vietnam War. See Platoon and understand. See Platoon on video soon.
You know what this party needs? Buzz McKenzie.
Super party animal.
Come on, baby, do it now, Buzz McKenzie.
His name is Buzz McKenzie.
Oh, party hard.
With a party ship inside. A cold Bud Light puts you in a party frenzy.
Buzz McKenzie parties right with only Bud Light. He knows everything else is just a light.
Go, Bud, go.
Buzz gives motion to the ocean.
This water damage is going to run $750. What would have stopped it?
Thompson's Water Seal protects wood, brick, and concrete with its special waterproofing formula. Thompson's Water Seal, a great defense against repair expense.
The articulation between center, holder, and kicker is so delicate.
This is time work, and the best part of this has to be a perfect hold. That ball snapped a little bit low, and Kemp just could not handle it. Disrupted the concentration and the timing of the kicker. That makes it awfully tough for Norm Johnson. Makes it tough for any kicker.
Well, if you're Frank Gans, the Kansas City coach, Merlin, he has to say we're down only 3-0, and yet we've had the ball 8 plays. Seattle 24 plays, and they take over at the 22-yard line. There's Gans, a former Navy jet pilot. Crash's nickname. Okoye. He's knocked down rudely by Jacob Green, 79. Loss of a yard. Denver and Green Bay still in overtime. 2 minutes left, tied at 17. 49ers a remarkable final play win. Buffalo beats Houston 34-30. Who's got it? Seattle. But a flag is down. Let's see if the penalty's against the Seahawks. Gains 56. The linebacker comes up with a loose ball.
Offense, illegal motion, decline, first down.
It looked like one of the Seahawks moved, which gave the defense a chance to burst off the ball, destroying the timing of this play. Watch it as Blackledge never got his hands on that football. Missed snap between the center and the quarterback, and number 56, Greg Gaines, scooped that football up and gives Seattle a big break on the 15-yard line. Look for the blitz from this Kansas City defense.
Warner for 3. We were talking yesterday with Tom Catlin, the veteran defensive genius of the Seahawks, and he said inside the 20, as the field shortens, Kansas City likes to take more chances.
They certainly do, and of course in takeaways, both of these teams have been very effective. Seattle and Kansas City right at the top of the list in takeaways since 1983. Seattle not up to par with Kansas City, who led the league last year, #1 in the NFL, but over the long haul, Seattle has the lead.
Craig looking for Largent. 141 straight games for Largent. It's short of the first down. His 699th catch. Just inside the 10-yard line, where it'll be 3rd down and 4. Leading 3-0 and threatening to build on that lead after the fumble recovery. Turner, touchdown. He and Albert Lewis in a pushing match in the end zone, and Turner reception today.
I saw a push. We'll give you a chance to look at it at home. Of course, the officials giving way to what they call incidental contact between receiver and defender. Looked like a little more than incidental contact to me, and Gans, I'm sure, would debate that with the officials. We'll look at it in a minute here.
Johnson's try for point. It's 10-0. The fumble recovery at the 15. 3 plays later, Craig to Turner, 9 yards for the score.
Now watch the contest. Far side of your screen, we'll see just the end of it here. There's the push right there. Well, we'll see if we got a better angle of that.
It counts for 6, now 7.
There are about 20 small sedans to choose from out there. But if you're looking for the best value, you can stop right here. The new Mazda 323 SE has a bunch of technical sophistication like fuel injection, a list of standard features that just won't quit, all backed by the best warranty in its class. I'm not kidding. You've got to check out this Mazda 323.
A better economy car value comes from our intense commitment to your total satisfaction. That's the Mazda way.
Okay. All right. I just want to say I'm glad our friends from marketing and accounting can be here with us to share this.
Yeah, they're eating all our cake, too.
I know for some of you, I'm just the guy who chose the computers. But what I am proud of is how we've helped each other. Now, everything that Fran's bean counters do helps us. And ditto for Kelly's people in research. But what's important is, it's not just the 3 B's that make us smarter. We make us smarter. Did you see the paper this morning?
Yeah.
This is why we did what we did.
All right.
Why we made the choices we made. Tomorrow, I leave for the West Coast office. They're back where we were a year ago. Now, I hope they're as good as you guys.
Today's game is brought to you by Mazda, bringing performance and value together. That's the Mazda way. By the Stanley Works. Stanley helps you do things right. And by Tandy Computers, because there is no better value, only at Radio Shack.
Typically, Seattle's so tough at home, especially in that takeaway department. They immediately turn the fumble recovery into 7 points and lead 10-0 as Norm Johnson kicks it off. Paul Palmer deep for Kansas City at the 3. Stumbles out to the 25-yard line. First down, Kansas City. Let's go back to that touchdown reception as the Seahawks 3-1 in time of possession.
That's an area that Kansas City had improved on dramatically with their running game, but not successful here today. Although we're early in the game, I think you'll see Kansas City try and come back and use that big offensive line to hammer into Seattle and get that running game going, get their momentum going here.
Blackledge throwing on first down again, gets it out to Stephon Page, and Page is to the 35, a gain of 8. Patrick Hunter and Fred Young with the tackle. A reminder to our viewers, we'll be selecting the Budweiser Most Valuable Player in today's game. We'll announce that, of course, in the second half.
Dick, one of the things that Chuck Knox does so well for these Seahawks is to get them back together after a loss. Everyone was upset after that big loss in Denver. They are back and back with a fury here today.
Veteran Henry Marshall in the game. Wide right. And up the middle, short yardage, but enough for the first down. Goes Okoye, Young, Bosworth, and on the tackle. In case you weren't with us at the start, Bosworth came out in number 55, warmed up in 55, and then went back for the final pregame messages from the coaches. And when the starting lineups were introduced, there, look at 55, the international cancel sign, and he's now 44. An injunction, a court injunction to wear his college number. First down at the 38, Kansas City. Okoye Oh, my, just rumbles through one tackle and finally dropped after nearly a 10-yard gain, Eugene Robinson.
Well, one thing you don't want to do is try and arm tackle that guy. It would turn you into a revolving door. Here's Okoye. Good start. He's the kind of big man who can get up to speed in a hurry. That's the play off the right-hand side that he was able to break loose last week for a touchdown. Look at what he said. If I need to run you over, I run you over.
That's basic.
That's pretty basic stuff.
First down on the play. Play action. Blackledge has a man open. Complete to the 35-yard line. As Carlos Carson comes up with his first catch. Patrick Hunter with a tackle. A first down, Kansas City. Let's go to New York and NFL Live.
All right, Dick, one of the rarities in the NFL, an overtime tie at Milwaukee. Rich Karlis tries to snap a 17-all deadlock. He slips as he connects with a 40-yard try that's well within his range, but it's wide to the left. And the Pack and the Bronx wind up tied at 17. Dick?
All right, Bob, that'll come as good news for these Seattle fans. Short toss to the tight end Jonathan Hayes on first down, a gain of 3. Hayes, who played his college ball at Iowa.
And it will be interesting, as close as the race in the AFC West has been over the last few years, to see how that half game comes into play. Look at the height and weight advantage. 20 pounds a man and a full inch in height that the Kansas City offensive line has over the Seattle defensive line. And that's without their biggest player, Joswiak, a 310-pound guard.
Okoye with a flag down. Gain of a yard, maybe 2. Bosworth. There's a crash. Bosworth is 248 pounds. He gives away 5 pounds to the fullback.
Todd Catlin, talking about the Boz, said this young man has an extra gear. He said he just has an extra. He can turn it into that speed gear and run you down from behind. There's Catlin, who devises and calls the defensive signals for Chuck Knox. Has been with him, and every year he's been a head coach.
Number 76, illegal motion, 5 yards, still second down.
They'll take the 5 yards despite the short gain and bring up second down and about 12. Brian Bosworth's mother, the family of 3, said, good thing he was my 3rd child. I might have had only 1. He's been special, or at least unique, since he was a kid. Bill Kenny comes in at quarterback for Kansas City. It's the second time Frank Gans has brought in the substitute quarterback. And Okoye, that didn't fool anyone. Jacob Green in the backfield to make the tackle for a 3-yard loss.
Jacob Green using the quickness to get around on the outside. Lutz lets him go, thinking he has no chance to make the play. But Green came all the way around the back. Wes Dove in there as a pass rusher was up from the inside. The 2 of them stop him for a short gain. They're going to have to go on 3rd and about 15. Big, long yardage.
Kenny to Carson. Complete at the 10-yard line. Carson got up to look back at Easley, almost as if he thought Easley had intercepted the ball. He looked back at the defender and said, ooh, I've got it right here. First down, Kansas City, a 30-yard play.
Reminiscent of a play last week that looked to be an interception in the Denver-Seattle game that came out, ended up being a Denver touchdown as Sewell went the distance. This play looks like an interception as Easley dives for the interception. And Carlos Carson gets the football.
On the 10-yard line. Blackledge back in at quarterback. Herman Hurd dropped right at the line of scrimmage. Might have fallen forward for a yard. Bruce Schultz, 58, the linebacker, with a tackle. Back to that Green Bay game, Merlin. The Packers missed a 48-yard field goal with 10 minutes left in overtime. And then Denver missing from 40 yards in the final second. So a 17-all tie in Green Bay, actually in Milwaukee today.
That's Frank Gans, new coach, in the middle of your screen. Dick, they say he talks an awful lot about confidence, about being secure and confident on that field.
Kansas City with its best chance. And that pass by Blackledge not even close to Hurd, who was well covered by Gaines. Now let's see if Gans brings in Kenny on 3rd down and long. No, instead he has the rookie coming in, Darrell Colbert, number 81, who played at Texas Southern.
Todd Blackledge is more comfortable in this running-based offense than he was in John Makovich's pass-first, shoot-'em-up offense. But he is not a great passer even now, as you can see by those numbers.
Over the middle, touchdown to Carlos Carson. A former LSU Tiger, Carson, with his 2nd catch today, his first touchdown of the season, and Kansas City on the board. 10 yards on the throw from Blackledge.
And Todd Blackledge looks up to the booth and says, "Take that, Merlin." Very nicely done. Very nicely done.
Try for point by veteran Nick Lowry. Kenny to hold. Right into your living room.
Carlos Carson on the bench. Carlos Carson in action, running just an in pattern here. Patrick Hunter thinking he was going to break it to the outside, not able to contain it. Fine pass, fine catch.
Yeah, Harry, Kalamazoo Tuesday, I can do that. Memphis Wednesday, I can do that. New York Thursday, I can do that. How am I going to do that?
No matter where you do business, Northwest can fly you there.
High-performance luxury sedans traditionally ask you to pay a pretty dear price. Well, that's not the Mazda way. Mazda's all-new 929 has world-class luxury appointments. It's amazingly quiet, solid riding, and actually outperforms those guys. Now there's less standing between you and a car this good. About $8,000 less.
A better luxury car value like this comes from our intense commitment to your total satisfaction. That's the Mazda way.
If you just ask for a light beer,
give me a light.
You never know what you'll get.
Bud Light.
Nice shot.
Heads up.
So if you want the less filling light beer with the first name and taste, ask for Bud Light. Because everything else is just a light.
Your face takes enough abuse, so you need the Gillette Good News Plus disposable. Its Lubra-Smooth strip is designed to reduce irritation, so shaving feels so good. Good News Plus.
American tradition continues when the Tigers face the Blue Jays or the Cardinals meet the Cubs. The memories are waiting next Saturday.
Very important touchdown for Kansas City to score on 3rd and 10 in that tight. When you get them as a defensive player, Merlin, 3rd and 10, you really hate to cough up the 6.
That's a long, long play down there because there's not much room to work. And of course, I think they had to be concerned about a running play down there, which is something the Chiefs are not afraid to do.
That's the first touchdown pass in the first 2 games for Kansas City. You see Bill Kenny.
Homer Smith, the offensive coordinator.
He was Gans's coach at Army when Gans was an assistant. Short kick at the 19, or kick to 14 is Edmonds. And he's out of bounds across the 25. Gans, interestingly, may be the first man ever to be an assistant coach, football coach at all 3 academies, the Air Force, the Navy, and the Army. Of course, a graduate from the Naval Academy in 1960.
Someone asked, how can a man go from being a special teams coach directly to being a head coach? Isn't that, shouldn't you have the experience of being a coordinator? Well, strangely enough, in many ways, I think he is better prepared with the relationship to his players as a special teams coach than he could have been as an offensive coordinator or a defensive coordinator.
Oh, wait a minute. I'm going to ask you about that. That doesn't sound quite right. Why a special teams coach would be better prepared? Larson with a great catch and across the 47-yard line. His 700th career catch. Only Charlie Joyner was 750 with more.
Let's go and take a peek at that catch, and it's classic Largent finding room. Largent puts you to sleep. Puts you to sleep out there. Albert Smith, such a highly respected defender, and yet Largent goes down, gets him a move, and finds an opening to catch that ball.
Put you to sleep in terms of his hypnotic moves. First down, Seattle, leading 10-7. Warner for about 7. I want to go back to your comment that a special teams coach, in some ways, is better prepared for a head coaching job than an offensive coordinator.
I think one of the things that a special teams coach has to do is really learn how to deal with his players. Often he's dealing with some of the marginal players on a team, some of those that aren't wanted. He has to give them that spirit, that enthusiasm to perform in the dirtiest of NFL jobs, special teams. If he can do that successfully, he has passed a giant hurdle that a lot of head coaches have real difficulties with.
To motivate men to do something you really don't want to do, be on special teams. Kansas City, were they drawn offside?
Kansas City in what we call a 46 defense, a bear look defense, where they're covering everyone on the inside, and Bill Moss a little bit eager that time as he stepped forward. The officials questioning whether a Seattle Seahawk moved. I don't believe he did. Yes, he did.
Well, offense number 65. False start.
Well, that's a very subtle move in there, but enough to draw Bill Moss offsides. I'm sure the Seahawks anticipating the blitz out of that 46 look. And Edwin Bailey, number 65, a little eager to get back and get into a position where he could do his job.
That's a tough 5 because Seattle had a 2nd and 4 where you really can play both run or pass. Now it's a 2nd and 9. Ticking down to the 2-minute warning. 2:02, 2:01. They did not get it off. 2-minute timeout. Craig was upset thinking that maybe the 30 seconds had elapsed, but that was not the case. The 2-minute timeout here in the Kingdome in Seattle.
Insurance presents Legends of the Game. In a career that spanned 4 decades, this old warrior is perhaps best remembered as a kicker. But he led the NFL in pass completions in 1953 and the AFL from 63 through 65. Who was this legend?
In the past 2 years, 500,000 more Americans switched to Liberty Mutual for their auto, home, and life insurance. More Americans are living in homes, getting into cars. And for workers' compensation, more American workers are insured by Liberty Mutual than anyone else. Because Liberty Mutual people do the job right.
America, believes in liberty. Liberty Mutual Insurance.
With the Bears, Colts, Oilers, and Raiders, George Blanda's rifle-like arm and accurate toe made him a legend of the game.
Strenuous testing like this has led Mazda to have so much confidence in their cars and trucks that they've got a new bumper-to-bumper warranty for 36 months or 50,000 miles. I'd say that's doing things the Mazda way.
A better warranty like this comes from our intense commitment to your total satisfaction. That's the Mazda way.
Oh, it's not just human nature, this need to race the wind. But unfortunately, man cannot fly. Oh, but horses do.
Now there's a man someday who will be a head coach as an offensive coordinator and a very youthful head man in that regard for Seattle, and Steve Moore.
Used to spend a lot of time in the press box and call the plays from there, but now is down on the field, as is Homer Smith, his counterpart, to speed up the calling of the offense, give the quarterbacks more time.
2 minutes to go. Seattle leading 10-7, 2nd and 9 from their own 46. Craig complete to Butler, and Ray Butler appears to have a first down, his 3rd catch of this first half. Dino Hackett with a tackle. Clock running at 1:45.
really a great acquisition for these Seahawks to pick up Butler from the Colts, Indianapolis Colts. And he has made a very substantial contribution here in Seattle.
They're going to measure. There's Butler, who played his college ball at Southern California, was a draft pick in the 4th round of the Colts in '80. They released him in '85, and he found a home here in Seattle. First down. Chuck Knox in his 5th year here in Seattle. He coached the Rams 5 years, was in Buffalo 5 years. Sent both of those teams to the playoffs, as he has here in Seattle. Craig has missed on only 2 in this first half. To John L. Williams, drops the ball. Jack Del Rio in a trade from New Orleans this year for Kansas City, there to secure in case.
Dick, it didn't matter, but Dino Hackett is so quick to the outside on that kind of play. He's racing out there for an impending collision with Blair Bush, the center, who was going to be out there to block him. And Hackett, who has led the team last year in sacks, in one game at Appalachia State had 27 tackles. Can you believe 27 tackles in a game?
That name familiar. Joey Hackett, his brother, played at Denver on the Super Bowl team last year, a backup tight end. Out of the backfield, Williams the other way, gets a good block and a first down at the 33-yard line.
Raymond Butler, number 83, comes back and just knocked the legs out from underneath a would-be tackler. I'll tell you, John L. Lewis has really become a solid football player at that fullback position.
A timeout with 1:11 left in the half.
Let's show it on the telestrator, Larry.
Please.
Mr. Garfield, welcome to Embassy Suites Hotel.
My room.
Oh, all our rooms are really 2-room suites for the price of a single room.
Beautiful. Don't change a thing.
The living room, sir.
Love what you've done with this room.
The bedroom.
This is great. I need my space.
And of course, you'll want to take advantage of Embassy Suites free breakfast.
Food.
Served every morning.
At Embassy Suites, you don't have to be a fat cat to enjoy the sweet life.
I resemble that remark.
Stanley. We open doors all across America.
Doors that open wide and welcome you inside. That open up to your special day. Doors that get you on your way. Stanley doors for London nights that bring you in when it's warm and dry.
Stanley doors for the quality of your life.
Stanley helps you do things right.
There's only one way to appreciate Zenith's 27-inch stereo television with breathtaking sound by Bose. Go hear it. Zenith and Bose. Quality.
And there's never been a better time to go hear it than now. Just trade in your old TV at participating Zenith Bose dealers and get up to $200 off Zenith's 27-inch digital TV with stereo sound by Bose. Offer expires October 31st.
See what a busload of NBC stars did over the summer in an all-new movie. Hit it, boys. If it's Tuesday, it still must be Belgium. Monday.
Sometimes it's the extra things you can do that make you valuable to a team. Wide receivers not renowned for their blocking ability, but stop it right there. Watch this block by Raymond Butler on Tim Cofield that makes it possible for John L. Williams to pick up the first down. John L. only had to deal with one man instead of two, and he picks up that important first down.
Leading 10-7 Seattle in the final minute. And Warner incomplete. Ruled that he never had complete possession, and Warner unhappy with himself.
A finesse pass that Craig has to lob over the head of the linebacker, Cofield. We just saw him on the other side. And watch as Warner, it doesn't matter on this play because Warner went out of bounds almost exactly on the first down marker. But still, if you get a hold of that one, maybe you got a chance to squeeze a yard or two down the sideline.
Dallas taking the lead against the Giants near halftime. San Diego running up a big score as Minnesota trying to win at Los Angeles 14-0. Yeah, the Rodney Dangerfield of the NFL, Dave Craig. Yeah, that'll get you a little respect. A first down inside the 20.
Dave Craig can't find the receiver. Quickly feels that opening up inside. But does a good job with his feet.
There's Butler throwing another block downfield for him. Seattle Seahawks trying to rebound from their disappointing showing in Denver as they were clobbered last week by the Broncos 41-16. Chuck Knox, an angry man this week. And the Kansas City Chiefs trying to build on their opening day win at Arrowhead against the San Diego Chargers. It's 10-7 Seattle with 56 seconds left in the first half. First down at the 17 of Kansas City. Warner in motion. Darryl Turner. Oh my, he has caught 3 passes this year, 3 touchdowns.
He came down hard on the turf, and there quickly to congratulate him and to say, you can't be hurt, my friend. We got to have you in this game, is his quarterback, Dave Craig, who is also the master of that pass. Boy, that zipped in there. What a pretty shot.
Norm Johnson adds the extra point, and with 51 seconds remaining in the half, it's 17-7 as Seattle marches 68 yards in 8 plays in less than 3 minutes. Turner shaken up, his second touchdown grab of the quarter.
Looking in over Dave Craig's shoulder. Watch the right-hand side of your picture. Ball is in the air. Craig able to freeze the safety momentarily. Deron Cherry, number 20, just froze him by looking him off, and then zipped that ball inside.
That looked like a repeat of the touchdown throw last week in Denver. Same
kind of play, only Craig threw it to a streaking. He's going dead away on this play, but watch him as he bangs off the turf here. We've seen a lot of players shaken up as they hit the ground. Watch him come down hard right there. You can see there's not much give to that turf, and it's that whiplash action of the turf that often injures the players. He gets up for the spike, but you'll notice he gets up a little wobbly.
Darryl Turner is a big Detroit Tiger fan. He's excited about the way the Tigers are playing as they go down the stretch. 2 weeks to go in that American League race. Today, he's got 3 catches, 2 for touchdowns. To correct ourselves, he had 1 last week in Denver for a touchdown, so 3 out of 4, not bad. City's Palmer. To the 24-yard line.
Tony Burse, a young rookie, down and exploded into that wedge. And it got a piece of the tackle. Watch number 34. Here's Burse. Watch him get past the blocker. Watch him just power into that wedge. Now he bounces back out, keeps his feet, and gets a piece of the tackle. That is outstanding special teams play.
That's how a kid makes a team when he's a draft pick in the last round. He was 324th player picked in the draft. 47 seconds. Black legs to throw. To Okoye, not much there. 3 yards maybe. Kenny Easley on the coverage. No huddle for Kansas City. 34 seconds. They've got all 3 timeouts left.
I'm surprised we don't see Kenny. We saw Kenny in long yardage passing situations. I would have expected to see him if that's going to be the case in this situation. 7 DBs on the field.
Blacklead knocked down at the 24-yard line. Jacob Green. See where they mark it. That'll be a sack back at the 24-yard line. He led the Hawks with 12 sacks last year as he made his first Pro Bowl team.
Dave Lutz has come in at that right tackle position, replacing Irv Eatman, who had not been finishing his blocks, according to some of the Kansas City coaches. Lutz, who had been a starter in previous years, having trouble containing the very quick, very explosive Jacob Green.
Interestingly, Seattle spends the timeout with 13 seconds left. Kansas City has its 3 remaining.
Hoping perhaps to get a shot at blocking a kick.
There's Todd Blackledge, who played for Joe Paterno. Penn State proudly has more players in the NFL than any other school, one more than Southern California, based on the opening day rosters. A tribute to the program of Joe Paterno.
Said one of the things he really likes about the system that Frank Gantz has is what they call their debriefing. They do a lot of walkthroughs, and then right after practice, they go in immediately to look at the film of that practice so they can correct their mistakes. I think that's a great idea, and I think it's something you'll see more and more of in the NFL now that we can use film or tape instead of film, and it can be shown instantly.
Ball at the 24, trailing by 10. Not likely that Kansas City will take a chance against that eager Seattle defense that has 6-7 defensive backs, and Blackledge, a quarterback draw, slides out to the 33-yard line. Gain of about 10.
Another timeout by Seattle.
They don't have one.
Oh, well, they'd like to have one.
The end of the first half. Possession time dominated by Chuck Knox Seahawks, and they lead at 17-7. NFL Live halftime activities in a moment. First, these messages from your local station.
Tonight, it's an all-new Family Ties.
It's hot off the press.
Last week, you made Family Ties America's #1 show.
Ooh.
Then People Magazine calls My Two Dads the best new series of the season.
I think we're Father of the Year.
It's a great new night.
Come home tonight.
Announcing the Lawn Boy Clean Sweep Sale. Right now, you can save up to 20% off the price of any Lawn Boy mower. You heard right. Save up to 20% on a Lawn Boy, America's long-running tradition. The mower that lasts and lasts and lasts at a price that won't. Hurry to your Lawn Boy dealer and clean up with up to 20% off.
Lawn and Garden in Kansas City and Cherokee Hardware in Overland Park.
Hello, I'm Len Dawson for your Kansas City Metro Chrysler Plymouth dealers, where it's year-end clearance time and everything goes.
Get great clearance deals and 1.9 financing or $750 cash back on Chrysler LeBaron Coupe. Plus, you could get special dealer incentives. Get $1.9 or $1,000 back on Plymouth Reliant. $500 back on Chrysler New Yorker, all with 7 years, 70,000-mile protection.
It's all going on now at your Kansas City Metro Chrysler Plymouth dealers. See them. They're good people.
Sports with Gordon Docking, only on WDAF TV4.
And we welcome those of you who've been watching the Chiefs-Seahawks game. Bob Costas along with Paul McGuire. Let's get you caught up on what's happening elsewhere. The Giants trail at home late in the second quarter to the Cowboys, 10-7. Danny White with a touchdown pass to Thornton Chandler in the second quarter that gave the Cowboys the edge. However, the Giants have the ball and they are moving in Cowboy territory as the second quarter moves toward a close. In the game you're watching, the Seahawks over the Chiefs, 17-7. Dave Craig with the latest touchdown, the 17-yarder to Darrell Turner. Steve Largent with a couple of catches to push him to 700 for his career. Charlie Joyner, the only other player in league history with more than 700 lifetime receptions. And how about Turner? 4 catches this year, 3 of them for touchdowns. Better than 1 in every 3 receptions for his young career has been good for a score. Detroit is playing against the Raiders at the Coliseum. Chuck Long's 3-yarder to Scott Williams, the difference, 7-6 Lions. Minnesota with a pair of Wade Wilson touchdown passes leading at Anaheim over the Rams, 14-0. The San Diego Chargers are pounding the Cardinals in San Diego, 28-0. Lionel Little Train James has 2 touchdowns, the first on an 81-yard punt return, the second on a 7-yard run set up by a Billy Ray Smith interception. Dan Fouts has thrown a 26-yarder to Wes Chandler. Gary Anderson has a 5-yard run, and the Chargers appear to be in a laugher, 28-0. Cleveland won at home today over Pittsburgh, 34-10. They intercepted 6 passes in the process in the game. Bernie Kosar also threw for a couple of scores. Clay Matthews had 2 of those interceptions for the Browns, one of which he returned for a touchdown. Chicago wins at home. They're 2-0. Tampa Bay's 1-1. 20-3 was the final. Vinny Testaverde had an uneventful stint for the Bucs in the 4th quarter, his first regular season NFL action. Walter Payton scored twice for the Bears, once on a 9-yard reception from Mike Tomczak, the other on a 1-yard plunge. The running touchdown was the 107th on the ground for Payton in his career. He breaks another of Jimmy Brown's records. Denver and Green Bay went to overtime, could not resolve it at Milwaukee. In the last few seconds, Rich Karlis tried a 40-yard field goal and slipped down, and the kick went wide to the left. And so Denver settles for a 17-17 tie against Green Bay after trailing the Pack 14-0. Miami at Indianapolis, and the Dolphins win it 23-10. Dan Marino throws for 3 more touchdowns. He's got 6 in the season's first 2 weeks, and Don Shula's Dolphins have now beaten the Colts 14 straight times and 19 of their last 20 meetings. The Redskins played at Atlanta, and the margin in this game, a missed extra point by the Redskins. Each team scored 3 touchdowns. In fact, Doug Williams, in relief of Jay Schrader, who was out for the entire game with the shoulder injured a week ago, Williams threw 3 touchdown passes, 1 to Kelvin Bryant, 1 to Gary Clark, 1 to Art Monk. But after the Clark touchdown in the 3rd quarter, they missed the conversion. Scott Campbell threw 2 touchdown passes for Atlanta, and they win it 21-20. Buffalo trailed Houston in the 4th quarter 30-20. They got 2 late scores. The last one on a Jim Kelly touchdown pass to Ronnie Harmon from 10 yards out with less than 2 minutes to play. Kelly threw for 3 touchdowns in the game, and the Bills rally and win 34-30. And finally, Philadelphia wins at home against New Orleans 27-17. 2 touchdown passes for Randall Cunningham, a 19-yarder to Mike Quick, and a 26-yarder to Kenny Jackson. Stay with us. Coming up on the next segment of our halftime show, Frank DeFord talks about free agency.
The new season begins Tuesday.
Each year, more than 1 million tons of plastic are used in the manufacture of automobiles, including those we give our children for Christmas. But shouldn't we be allowed to expect something a little better now that we've grown up? Before you buy another car, be sure you see the Sterling.
Cheers Classics starts September 28th on TV4.
Welcome back to NFL Live. I'm Bob Costas, and as always, at halftime, we're joined by Frank DeFord. And as you might suspect, his subject today, the impending NFL strike. As we all know, there are dozens of issues on the bargaining table. But as we also know, when you boil it all down, there's just one that remains of paramount importance, both practically and emotionally. Frank?
Free agency, of course, and every professional American sports league denies unqualified free agency. But the NFL is much more restrictive than either baseball or basketball. An arbitrator will hand down his decision tomorrow, judging whether baseball owners have been in collusion in these matters, and the NBA Players Association is demanding total free agency. By comparison, the NFL is in the 19th century. In any way, it is becoming more and more fashionable for constitutional authorities to maintain that it's downright un-American for any athlete to work where he doesn't want to. But in fact, professional athletes are not unique. In many specialized fields of employment, say the State Department, the choices are slim. And as the federal judge pointed out last year in the USFL suit, it's not the NFL's fault that it's the only football league around. But unlike baseball and unlike basketball, the NFL is not a true free market. All the teams share equally in television revenue. Sellouts are almost guaranteed because few games are played and it's a season ticket sport. Losers are not financially penalized, nor are winners rewarded. In baseball and in basketball, bad franchises suffer in the marketplace, and thus bad owners are driven out of the game. But in the NFL, failure is institutionally protected, and a player unlucky enough to be drafted out of college by someone like Irsay, Bidwell, or Rankin Smith is stuck forever, his whole career, in some pigskin black hole. And that is why, if anything, the NFL should naturally offer more, not less free agency. Limited free agency is nothing for competent franchises to fear. If after 4 years a football organization or a host community cannot convince a player that it's to his benefit to stay there, then that team really doesn't deserve to keep the young man. Now, some people say that Pete Rozelle should step in and help settle the mess. I say that the commissioner had almost 30 years to straighten out the constitution of the National Football League, to bring an essentially socialistic organization kicking and screaming into the free market. Limited free agency does not threaten the well-being of the league, especially in a sport where so many players are involved. It's nothing like basketball, where losing one star can turn a whole franchise upside down. In football, limited free agency can only threaten those organically incompetent franchises that cannot compete successfully on their own without Big Brother to help them. Well, that's the issue. With me is Stan White, who was on the executive committee of the Players Union in 1982 when the league had its strike. Stan, let's talk a minute about personalities. Gene Upshaw and Jack Donlin were both around in '82, Gene in a subsidiary role at that time. Do you think that Donlin's departure from the negotiations in 1982 brought on the settlement?
Oh, I definitely think you do. You need somebody at the table that has a stake. You got to remember, this is Jack Donlin's only job. This is a win or lose situation for him, and he's afraid to lose. There's nobody there that's really going to negotiate, give any give and take, and that's why when Dan Rooney got to the table and had some stake in the action, he wanted to get the thing resolved because the season was at stake.
Can't you say that the same thing applies to Gene Upshaw?
Well, not really, because Gene has to run the union for 5 years to the next bargaining agreement. He has to run the grievances. He's got 25% new players every year that he's got to re-educate. The owners are the same year in, year out.
Is Upshaw at a disadvantage because, in effect, he's a rookie, at least in running the negotiations?
Well, you could look at it that way, but really he's been around a long time. He played for 16, 17 years. He was a president. He was a president also. He was in the union as an executive committee member before that. So he's paid his dues. He's been there. He knows where all the dead bodies are.
The question of how faithful, how loyal the players will be when it really gets tough, when those contracts, the money doesn't come in. Do you believe that the players will remain faithful?
Well, I do believe that. I think that, I didn't believe it at first. I thought they were not nearly as intense as they were in 1982. But I think management has backed them up so far in the corner that they're going to fight. They've said that you can't go anywhere, you're not going to get any free agency despite what the other sports have. Now they're going to got them in a position where they got to fight back, and they're going to stick together. There may be some defections, but when you got 1,500 players, you're going to have a few that are going to go their own way.
If they do you think those players will receive the kind of retribution on the field that can be a little painful?
Well, you'd like to think they wouldn't, but let's live in the real world. Of course there's retributions on the football field all the time for past acts against you that may have been years ago. You wait to get a guy back, and I'm sure that that'll happen if some of the players break ranks.
Thank you very much, Stan. And stay tuned. Our halftime activities will resume in just a few moments.
Opal Watson is 80 years old and takes care of her handicapped daughter Betty in this old house. They can't get out to fix and keep it up.
They're here. They said.
But here in Kansas City, with young volunteers like these, there's going to be a new coat of paint and a new face on this old house.
What you're seeing here today is a miracle, a little miracle made possible by these young people. Hi, I'm Albert Lewis of the NFL's Kansas City Chiefs. And as a United Way volunteer, I'm part of the Youth Corps volunteer here in Kansas City.
For Opal and Betty, it's a whole new world of friends. And for these young people, it's a chance to make a difference, to let people know they care. They know you care, too, when you support your United Way. These young volunteers have made a world of difference in the lives of Opal and Betty. And you make a world of difference when you give.
The United Way. It brings out the best in all of us, right?
Right!
This message furnished by the National Football League.
And we welcome you back to the Kingdome, where at halftime the Seahawks lead 17-7. It was a good first half for David Craig. 2 touchdown passes. He had a couple of drops and still was hitting about 75%. And for Kansas City, the Chiefs fans have to say, hey, this reminds me of the last couple of years. They made only 30 yards on the ground.
Now, we're going to have a kickoff coming right at you. We'll try and give you a little look at a couple of the big plays from that first half. Some good football, some big play football in the first half of this game.
Kickoff is sponsored by Budweiser, the king of beers. Norm Johnson to kick it off for Seattle. Kansas City will get the ball first, and Paul Palmer, the dangerous rookie from Temple, the #1 draft pick of Kansas City, is deep. 17-7 as we open the second half. Palmer telling Moriarty to take it, and he's knocked out of bounds just shy of the 20-yard line at the 19.
Let's look quickly at those big plays in the first half.
Darrell Turner caught 2 touchdown passes. He had a third catch of 1 yard, but when you think touchdown Seattle on a pass, you think Turner. That was just 2 great athletes going up for the jump ball and Turner winning it.
A little contact prematurely on that play, and I'm sure there will be complaints by Kansas City there. But what big catches by Darrell Turner.
Play action by Blackledge. The Boz has the sack. Fred Young set it up, and the Boz had the knockout punch.
Backed up against their own goal line. Watch it here as Blackledge ducks underneath Fred Young. Does a good job of getting away, but he could not escape the Boz, who put him down and celebrated on it.
Second down and long, Kansas City from their 12. Okoye tripped up by Fred Young. Young, who led Seattle with 12 tackles last week in Denver. Bill Kenny came in as a relief pitcher for Blackledge, and this was a key throw on the Kansas City scoring drive as he found Carlos Carson down the sidelines. Carson didn't know he had the ball as easily darted in front of him, and then Blackledge came in, and on 3rd and 10 hit the same man, Carson, for the touchdown, Kansas City's only score.
And we're back to the live action.
3rd down, 17. Draw play, fumble! And Seattle has it. It appeared to be Eugene Robinson.
Frank Gans talks a lot about the security of that ball. Ball security, holding it tight. It's particularly important against a team like Seattle that works constantly at stripping the ball. There he is, right there. 21, Paul Moyer, who's the captain of the special teams, just got his hands on that football and snatched it away, popped it loose. Excellent open field play by the linebacker, defensive back.
A fumble recovery at the 15 set up an easy Seattle touchdown in the first half. And now they start from the Kansas City 25. Warner ducks away from one tackle, turns a 3-yard loss into a 7-yard gain. The halftime statistics reflecting Seattle's ball control and stopping the running game of the Chiefs. Only 30 yards rushing for Kansas City, 75 for Seattle. Time of possession, 18 minutes to 12.
Of course, that certainly does not compare to the big numbers that Kansas City racked up, averaging well over 200 yards rushing in each of their preseason games. A good week of rushing last week against San Diego, but they have been shut down here in the first half of this game, and that's going to be a problem, Dick.
Craig, 13 of 17, and he had 2 drops. Warner just shy of the first down as Art still wrapped him up. And a little extra activity. It'll be 3rd and 1.
Dick, one of the problems when you base your offense on the running game, as Kansas City has, they've gone back to the basics, kind of the defense to the running game as the base of their offense and the special teams. Very difficult to come back. Very difficult to come back in a game. They've got to be concerned here. If Seattle can put 7 points on the board here and go out in front 24-7, it's not going to be easy for them to come back in this game.
They may have made the first down at that. Close. Just by that much. It'll be 3rd down. third down conversions, and Seattle likes to be up around 47%. Now that's total conversions, counts the 3rd and 1s and 3rd and 2s. Chuck Knox wants at least that much on 3rd and 5 and more. And at the end of last year, he was hitting about 60%.
Well, you'd always like your third downs to be inches. You don't always get that option.
Well, that's what they've got here with Warner in the tailback spot, and it's Warner leaping for the first down. Dino Hackett met him at the top of the cliff, but Warner already had a couple of yards.
Warner finds the yardage, the only place it was available. Airborne. Stepped up at the line. Good contact as both sides just scrapping and biting in there. Dino Hackett and Warner collide in midair, but Warner is far enough along to give his team a first down.
He used the backs of Blair Bush and Brian Millard as a launching pad for the first down at the 13. Gave every indication he was going to go outside, and just that breaking quickly and cutting inside for 3.
Kurt Warner is so good at cutting back against the grain. Watch him here. He'll start and then cut back. Dino Hackett will overrun this play to make it possible for Warner to get outside. Watch Hackett now. Gets good position, and Warner just dips back inside as Hackett really opened up that hole. You've got to move along and stay behind the runner, especially when it happens to be Kurt Warner.
Warner's carried the ball all 4 plays since the fumble recovery. Williams to the 2, first and goal. Deron Sherry and Dino Hackett saved the touchdown.
The Seattle Seahawks doing a good job of attacking this 4-3 defense. Edwin Bailey moving his man out. That's Pete Koch, 74. And when you can drive a man off the ball like that, you create holes in that line. Of course, John L. Williams knows exactly what to do when he sees an opening.
4 shots for Seattle from the 2-yard line. They own a 17-7 lead. 4 minutes gone, third quarter. Warner stacked up for one of the few times today. Big Bill Moss, 6'5" and 270 from Pittsburgh. And Dino Hackett, a budding All-Pro at middle linebacker. No hole for Warner.
One of the things that Bill Moss told me before the game, he said, we have problems anticipating the blocking combinations that teams are going to use on us because there aren't that many 4-3 alignments around, especially in our division and in our conference. And he said, as a result, we've kind of got to guess at what they're going to do. Seattle obviously has thrown some wrinkles at them that they were not prepared for today.
Loss of about a half yard. Second and goal. Play action. Craig gets away from Ross. Touchdown. Mike Tice. Tice, who was a quarterback at Maryland, caught only 15 last year, no touchdown, so you know he's bubbling inside with his first touchdown catch of the last 2 years.
We saw him leave the game earlier with an ankle problem. They're glad that he is back into that game, and good heady calls by Steve Moore and by that offensive brain trust on the Seattle side as they mixed the plays so well in that drive.
Craig's third touchdown pass, and he did a good job of eluding Ross's try. Johnson adds the extra point, and with 10 minutes remaining in the third quarter, the Seahawks take a 24-7 lead.
Winning the world over, we're gonna move you, make you smile. Have you driven a Ford? Winning the world over, special look, you're moving inside. Have you driven a Ford Ranger?
Snake River, Wyoming and Old Milwaukee both mean something great to these guys. The Snake River means fly fishing for lunker cutthroat trout. And Old Milwaukee means a great beer. Cold, crisp, Old Milwaukee beer. And smooth, golden Old Milwaukee Light.
There's nothing like the flavor of a special place. And Old Milwaukee beer.
Old Milwaukee and Old Milwaukee Light.
Fellas, it just doesn't get any better than this.
Today's game is brought to you by Ford and your local Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? By Old Milwaukee and Old Milwaukee Light. It doesn't get any better than this. And by IBM.
Well, 2 fumbles in this game. The key to the score, 24-7, as recoveries by Seattle at the Kansas City 15. And now at the 25-yard line have led to 2 touchdowns. 14 points and a 24-7 lead as Norm Johnson kicks it off. Paul Palmer waits for the Chiefs. Boy, he gets great height on those kickoffs from the 4. Out to the 23-yard line, and a good hit made by David Hollis, a free agent rookie from the University of Nevada, Las Vegas.
Jack Del Rio, number 50. Assigned to cover Mike Tice on this play. They did a good job of selling the running play. And Del Rio just could not cover Tice, not known for his catching ability, but he certainly did a fine job there.
A couple other late scores. Dallas with a surprising lead in Giant Stadium, and Detroit a point ahead of the Raiders at halftime at the Coliseum in Los Angeles. Blackledge scrambling. To buy it at the 27, 28-yard line, short yardage before Fred Young got him. Minnesota with the Rams blanked at home at halftime, and San Diego running up the score on the Cardinals down at Jack Murphy Stadium.
Dick, one question that we would ask looking down at this Kansas City sideline after what Frank Gann said about platooning those quarterbacks in sure passing situations, will we see Kenny? They almost have to get something going on that scoreboard.
Yeah, if Blackledge can't muster a scoring drive here, we might well see Kenny the rest of the way. 2nd down and 6. Looks like a screen, but no one there. He throws it away, and there goes the flag. He did not disguise it well at all.
That's a judgment call by the official, and all he has to do is believe that that ball is thrown into the ground to prevent the loss of yardage.
Fred Silva, the referee. He made the call.
51 offense. Holding, decline. Intentional grounding. Number 14 accepted. The down will be 3rd down.
Loss of down. It's one of the toughest penalties in the game because you lose the yardage and the down. And Todd Blackledge is saying, how can you call that on me? But you've got to be a good actor as a quarterback as well as the thrower.
Yeah, that wasn't a very good line that he offered the referee. He's got to throw the ball closer to an eligible receiver. You saw Frank Gans looking up at the big television screen here in the Kingdome, hoping he'd see a replay. This is what he would want to see, or maybe not after we take a second look.
I'm not so sure you'll want to see it. Good pressure right here. That was Addix who had a hold of the man, and there's no chance there. He knew that Blackledge knew there was no chance for the play. Should have done a better job of selling the throw away.
Throwing it high over the head rather than low in front of the defender. Bill Kenny, the quarterback. Crowd trying to make it tough on him. Another fumble. Paul Moyer has it at the 5-yard line with a flag down. Jacob Green in on Kenny. Moyer with a fumble recovery to the 5. And the penalty apparently against Kansas City.
Offense, number 76. Holding. Decline.
Boy, 3 fumble recoveries from the 25 in against Kansas City. That's disastrous.
That's unbelievable field position being provided by the defense. Watch number 79, Jacob Green, around Dave Lutz. And again, he's right on top of him. Fred Young, number 50, the linebacker, underneath. Boy, I tell you, that is great pressure from a team that only had 6 sacks in the preseason and was shut out on the sack department last week. John Paul Young, the defensive coordinator, talking to Frank Gans there. They're trying to get their troops reorganized and rallied here.
Kurt Warner loses a yard or 2. Good pursuit wide. Lewis Cooper and Dino Hackett along with Albert Lewis on the corner.
One of the things you don't want to do is over pursue on Kurt Warner. But one of the things Kurt Warner doesn't want to do is spend too much time behind the line against a very quick defense. It didn't pay any dividends on that play.
Some of his armor showing as that jersey ripped.
Surprised the officials don't send him over for a new jersey, because with his pads poking out like that, he does provide a bit of a problem for someone who's trying to make a tackle on him.
The Seahawks were 7-1 last year. Only the Giants had a better home record, 8-0 in the NFL. Craig throws this one away. Now, see, you can buy that one because it was over the heads. Had he thrown it down at the feet of the Chiefs, then you're grounding it.
Salesmanship again. Interesting call on third down situation.
Dave Craig said his dad back in middle Wisconsin has hung up the badge. He's a former state trooper. Can concentrate on following his son. Said, I love Seattle, but I love going back home because it'll be the same way 100 years from now. People are so trustworthy. They don't change back there in Wisconsin, where I come from. Milton College. Craig underneath a large and incomplete. That ball up for grabs for a moment.
Albert Lewis on the coverage. Actually, Largent double-teamed Craig, trying to get it into the very durable and trusted hands of his ace receiver. Watch the coverage. Lewis there. I guess, well, here's the second man right there. Jack Del Rio. No, that's not Del Rio. That's Mark Robinson coming out number 30 rather than 50.
Yeah, you might have thought, looking at that, as we saw it, I was thinking, gee, Largent didn't lead him enough. The reason he didn't, Robinson was coming in.
Coming inside out for the collision, and I think the collision really knocked the ball away as well. Good defensive play by Robinson.
Johnson, a short 25-yarder. And that's 17 points for Seattle on 3 fumble recoveries. Johnson is 4 for 4 for the year.
Alaskan king crab from Glacier Bay and the great taste of Old Milwaukee beer.
There's nothing like the flavor of a special place and Old Milwaukee beer.
Hey guys, it doesn't get any better than this.
Leave it to the good hands, people.
Last year, Allstate paid to repair or rebuild over 600,000 homes
Leave it to the good hands, people.
and over 1 million cars. All told, we spent over $20 million a day restoring the important things in our customers' lives.
Leave it to us to help protect what's important to you.
Your hopes and schemes, your plans and dreams. Leave it to the good hands, people. You're in good hands with Allstate.
A member of the Sears Financial Network.
For every number flashing by on the ticker, there's a buyer and a seller who found each other. Chicago pork bellies get an offer from London. Swiss francs are picked up in Dallas. How do traders keep up with it? They use a communication system from Contel. If it doesn't work, they don't work. That's why 4 out of 5 major trading firms depend on technology from Contel. For Contel, I'm Charlton Heston.
I've tried it. Now I believe it. Denerex Tingles tells me it's doing more. Head and Shoulders, no tingle.
Both have dandruff medicine, but Denerex adds both an extra anti-itch medicine and conditioner, too.
Goodbye, Head and Shoulders. Hello, Denerex.
An American tradition continues when the Tigers face the Blue Jays or the Cardinals meet the Cubs. The memories are waiting next Saturday.
2 weeks to go before the playoffs and some big decisions to be made. The American League East, the Tigers and Blue Jays, 1-2 starting today. Toronto just a half game behind the Tigers. The Cardinals and Cubs, St. Louis hardly resting on a game-and-a-half lead in front of the Mets and just 2 in front of Montreal. So some very important games on our baseball game of the week coverage next Saturday here on NBC. 27-7 lead. Norm Johnson roots it high. Palmer again. Down at the 24-yard line, and flags are down with it. Go back to Johnson's field goal. He's 2 for 3 today and 3 for 4 for the year. Recall he missed one from 39 yards out when he hit the crossbar in the first half.
Dick.
Now we're going to check Merlin first on what Fred Silva says about the penalty, obviously against Kansas City.
On the return, number 55. Illegal block above the waist. Half the distance to the goal line, and first down.
Today's baseball action. Minnesota ever closer to clinching the American League West with a 3-2 win against the Indians. The A's lead Kansas City 7-6 late. Milwaukee a winner over Detroit, while Toronto beats the Yankees. So Toronto takes over first place by a half game in the East. Blackledge is still the quarterback for Kansas City. They start at the 9-yard line. Draw play to Koya. Ooh, is he knifed down at the 10-yard line? A 1-yard gain. Bosworth and Schultz.
Bosworth, number 44, reading quickly in their solo. One of the reasons that they were not able to block that play, Kenny Easley had moved up. They had anticipated a special defense where Easley was in position, but he slipped out of there, and Bosley was left alone.
Cardinals are a winner, and the Mets struggling with the Pirates. Boy, Pittsburgh's played them tough this year, and they play tough down the stretch, have the Pirates. Philadelphia beats Montreal. Blackledge going for a long one to Page. Oh, that'll be interference. No penalty. Oh, it looked as if there was a real push on Page, but no call. Patrick Hunter got away with murder on that one.
Judged to be incidental contact.
Right here, look at the left arm.
I think what they're saying is that he had turned away, but if he turns away and uses his body to push the guy, you still should end up with a penalty on a call like that. That's twice today. I think Seattle has benefited from calls that were right on the edge. Once on a touchdown to Darrell Turner, and here on a potential long catch down the sideline.
Bill Kenny takes over. On 3rd and 9. Seattle liable to throw something special at him. Here comes Moyer. Kenny over the middle, incomplete. Just too many Seahawks around him. You know, these fans here are so intelligent. They know how to help their team with noise. It's no incidental noise. They know exactly when it helps that defense most.
Well orchestrated, and of course when they're yelling during that offensive segment, they're blocking out the offensive signals, and they're blocking out potential audibles by the quarterback. We might see the rush here.
Edmonds deep. Good kick by Colbert. Edmonds at his own 42, and down he goes. 6 minutes and 57 seconds remaining in the third quarter. Seattle with the lead.
Your face takes enough abuse, so you need the Gillette Good News Plus disposable. Its Lubra-Smooth strip is designed to reduce irritation, so shaving feels so good. Good News Plus.
America's best-selling minivan, America's best-selling wagon, and the wagon version of the world's best-selling car. Of all the things they carry, the one thing they carry most proudly is the badge of America's most successful car company, Ford.
Winning the world over. You're winning. Have you been behind the wheel? Winning the world over. Have you driven a Ford lately?
Hey, my desk.
It's making room for the new computer.
We just got new computers.
I'm talking about a really big computer.
Is this big enough to run mainframe programs?
Piece of cake.
Is it big enough for hundreds of workstations?
Of course.
Wow, for thousands of customer accounts?
No sweat, kid.
Wow, that does sound big. You better not spill your coffee on it.
This is it? Where's the rest of it?
The IBM mid-range. Big computers in small packages.
Alaskan king crab from Glacier Bay and the great taste of Old Milwaukee beer.
There's nothing like the flavor of a special place at Old Milwaukee Beer.
Hey guys,
doesn't get any better than this.
Next Sunday, the NFL plays here when the Patriots battle the Redskins.
Before your team takes the field, our team hits the air. NFL Live.
Seattle with the lead 27-7 in the noisy Kingdome, and don't even want to think about how quiet it may be next week.
That would be awful to see this beautiful building empty along with the other stadiums around the league. One of the things that always happens here is I'm very jealous of this kind of crowd.
You didn't have a crowd advantage.
No, I tell you, having this loud crowd intensifies the mistakes of a team like Kansas City. I mean, it makes their job that much more difficult because it tends to intensify the emotion of the game.
Plus, you can't hear the signals. Plus, it spurs on that defense of Seattle. John L. Williams could go all the way. John L. Williams with a big hole up the middle. 48 yards.
You got a chance to look at some excellent blocking for John L. Williams. Number 32. Watch him cut back against the grain here. He gets right away from Moss, 63, and just flat out runs Cooper, 55. It's Ross, number 31, that finally ran him down, but not till he got to the 9-yard line.
First and goal. Right back to Williams. Tim Cofield made the tackle.
Dick, the danger here for a defense like Kansas City, they're very proud, and they know they're really almost out of this game no matter what happens. Sometimes you try and do too much. Sometimes you think, I've got to make the big play. Well, if you start doing that, the defense will break down. Every man has to cover his gap. And I'm sure that's what John Paul Young will be saying to his defense when he gets them on the sideline.
Williams again. Boy, he's a load himself. He's saying, you want to talk about Okoye? Well, how about my 226 pounds? They don't exactly bring me down with one hit.
We have not heard a great deal from Okoye, and of course a tribute, I think, to the way in which this Seattle defense has played today, but also to the fact that they have been able to jump out in front, and in doing so have taken away the options of running from the Kansas City Chiefs.
Time remaining in the third quarter. Seahawks led 17-7 at the half, trying to blow it open. They have a 27-7 lead, third and goal. Williams, touchdown. Williams did not score a touchdown on the ground last year in the regular season, and that is his first. He'll keep the football. I love that shot. We saw one of the assistant coaches, the restraint of modern technology, the telephone wire system. He was like a horse trying to get away from the keeper. Johnson, point after, and with 4:42 remaining in the third quarter, a team that loves to play at home, and John L. Williams, that was his one-man drive.
Watch him as he goes to the outside. Tony First, number 34, getting an excellent block for him, but he was not going to let anybody keep him out of that end zone.
Warm moments on a cold winter night. Good conversation, easy and light. And how about something for your appetite? Let our gentle flame cook up something right. Warm moments for those warm moments. Nothing warms you like gas.
Warm is what a gas home is all about. And if you're beyond natural gas service, enjoy the efficiency of gas by using propane.
Nothing warms you like gas.
Lafitte, Louisiana and Old Milwaukee both mean something great to these guys. Lafitte means flat-bottom boat racing. and a Cajun feast that'll set your mouth on fire. And Old Milwaukee means a great beer. Cold, crisp, Old Milwaukee beer. And smooth, golden Old Milwaukee Light.
There's nothing like the flavor of a special place. An Old Milwaukee beer.
Old Milwaukee and Old Milwaukee Light.
It doesn't get any better than this. For 75 years, Liberty Mutual has shown companies like IBM, companies like General Mills, companies like Ramada Inns, and thousands of others how to make their workers' compensation dollars work harder. As a result, they've made Liberty Mutual the largest insurer of America's working men and women.
They are called Olympic hopefuls, but hope plays a small role here. For it will take a courage, a discipline, and a sheer will few of us will ever know. And if their effort is true, then they too will be known as Olympians.
Leading 34-7. Johnson's kick is short. Palmer at the 15, 30, and out to the 34. And you could see just with that play what a dangerous runner he is. Pause, got the block, and shot forward. Frank Gans's team has not been able to move the ball except on one drive the entire day.
You see him making eye contact with his players. He wants to let them know he hasn't given up on them, although their results today, punt, punt, fumble, finally a TD, fumble, fumble, punt. Not a very inspirational day offensively for the Chiefs.
Only one time have they picked up a first down on a drive, and that was their touchdown drive. Underneath to the tight end Walt Arnold, his first catch of the day out to the 40-yard line.
Dick, it's been relatively easy for Frank Gans so far in his first year. They had an excellent preseason. They had an extra game in which they were able to play. That's Walt Arnold, the tight end, on the field. The extra game, the Canton, Ohio Hall of Fame game, was a blessing to a new coach and to his staff so they could get their players together. They have run the ball extremely well. They have won more games in the preseason than any Kansas City team in an awful long time. They won their opener. Today begins the test for him because they have not played well. And I can reflect on Chuck Knox's first year in L.A. when things were not going well. We were 0-3-1, and Knox made a speech one day. He said, you know, things are going so badly that even the rats are getting off the ship. But he said, we are not going to change what we are doing because we're doing the kinds of things that will help us win. And we went on to go 12-2 and win the Western Division. Well, Gans needs to have that kind of confidence in himself, in his players, and in his team. If he does, and if he can get them back on track, and I think he will show real stability. It appears to me that that's one of his strengths. He may be able to get him right back into the fight.
Larry Moriarty replaces Okoye. This is Herman Hurd. And Hurd has a first down out to the 45-yard line. That is the first down for Kansas City since the second period with 9:38 left.
Moriarty is obtained from the Houston Oilers. He's a big bull up in front. He throws a very fine block to help spring Herman Hurd. But again, you see the closing speed of Brian Bosworth there to make the play.
3.5 minutes left in the third quarter. Blackledge still at quarterback. That was up for grabs. And falls in an empty spot as Blackledge was drilled. Jacob Green and Bosworth and Bryant all around him. This telecast is presented by authority of the National Football League, intended for the private use of our audience. Any rebroadcast or other use of this telecast without the express written consent of the Seattle Seahawks and the National Football League is prohibited. This game is the property of the National Football League. Kansas City and Seattle, all rights reserved. 2nd and 10. Seahawks celebrate.
call them takeaways and giveaways, and certainly some of them are takeaways. Some of them are also giveaways. Blackledge getting the ball into Herman Hurd's hands, number 44, just put the helmet right on the ball inside. That's Fred Young, number 50. Great position, put his helmet right on the football, and it popped out the other side.
You know, with all the talk about Bosworth, you have to feel for Young. He is playing brilliantly. He's the better linebacker, but somewhat ignored, and he's made some big plays the first 2 weeks of this season.
12 tackles last week, Dick.
Williams. Whoa! Right out of a tackle. And all the way to the 31-yard line, the man who tried to bring him down, Tim Cofield, he is wobbly.
We mentioned Cofield's physical statistics. He is a crushing linebacker, but position so important. Williams had leverage. You heard the helmets clash together. Watch it. You'll see it. As John L. Williams takes this ball, look how he lowers his body right there. He was the one that was coiled, and underneath, it was Cofield who took the blow.
And he's hurting. That one shook him all the way down to his ankles.
We could hear it all the way up here.
First down after a 16-yard play. 3 minutes left, third quarter. Hart still finally jumps into the Seattle backfield. Was there movement in the Seattle line? Still, who was the second pick in the 78 draft behind Earl Campbell.
Offense, false start, number 75. 5 yard, still first down.
Mike Wilson, the right tackle.
There's Cofield on the sideline. Here is that collision at normal speed. We always show you at a lowered speed, but you get a sense of the contact, the bruising contact between two very, very physical football players. Cofield still holding that right ankle on the sideline.
And for John L. Williams, that 48-yard run was a confidence builder. He's running like a different player now. He gets the call. And just short yardage this time as Lewis Cooper, Jack Del Rio, and Mark Bell all in on the tackle. Ball to the 34-yard line.
This Kansas City defense has a couple of interesting wrinkles to it. And maybe we can show you on the telestrator a couple of things that they are doing that are very unusual for a 4-3 defense.
Well, one, there's Mike Bell. Look at, he's not in a down stance.
He's standing up as a defensive end.
Warner. And he's down at the 35-yard line, a yard loss. Hart still there for the play defensively. Still has played well defensively.
What they're doing on the backside is they're standing up on the weak side, their defensive end. And then their other end, the other end, is spread out all the way onto the tight end. Unusual configuration for the defense. They feel that it gives them an opportunity to give the defense problems that they can't really block it as they would an ordinary 4-3. Of course, the stand-up man has better vision, which I guess is a real advantage for a defensive end.
Third down and 14, Craig. To Butler, who had 3 big catches in the first half. Ooh, my, a little late on that. Short of the first down.
Brian Millard down there to help. The sounds of the game. And you got them at home. Those were real collisions, folks.
J.C. Pearson makes the catch, and that was Millard coming over the top to try to help out. Norm Johnson, this will be a 46-yarder, the longest try today, and he can make them from farther away than that, as you can see. It's good. His third today. It's 37-7. So the Seahawks 4 fumble recoveries, 2 touchdowns, and 2 field goals ensuing from those takeaways. Giants have regained the lead at home against the Cowboys, and the Raiders at home now lead Detroit. Minnesota still with a 14-0 advantage against the Rams in Anaheim, and St. Louis has scored at San Diego. As we approach this next kickoff, the headlines of this week 2 of the NFL season: Walter Payton, the great Chicago Bear, his 107th rushing touchdown to break Jim Brown all-time NFL rushing TDs. Cleveland with 6 pass thefts as they broke open a close early game, beat Pittsburgh at home. And Joe Montana, 3 touchdowns. Jerry Rice on the final play when Cincinnati gambled with just seconds left. They lost possession on a running play, 2 seconds left, and Montana 25 yards to Rice in the end zone for a game they'll be talking about throughout the country. That summarizes the key plays. And here in Seattle, we might add a 4th. 4 fumble recoveries lead to 20 Seahawk points as they build a 37-7 lead. Palmer again, that is 1. Stepped out of bounds back at the 43-yard line, but an excellent return for the rookie from Temple, who was runner-up to Vinny Testaverde for the Heisman Award, Paul Palmer. Boo Boo Palmer. Yeah, Boo Boo and Cho-Cho. Okoye's nickname was Cho-Cho.
Speed kills. They've got it shut off inside, and Palmer says, well, let's play run to the sideline. If he had about another yard there, he'd have a touchdown.
Chiefs start just across their own 43-yard line. Half a minute left, 3rd quarter. Gann stays with Blackledge at quarterback. Almost intercepted by Fred Young. Star from New Mexico, Young was in the right spot, intended for Henry Marshall.
Freddie Young came into this game of professional football with such great instincts for the ball and with the ability to deliver a real hit. Made a great mark as a special teamer. In fact, made the Pro Bowl twice as a special teamer. And when he was finally comfortable with these defenses, which took him some time because they're complicated, he is now making his mark as a starting linebacker.
Well, he was a Pro Bowler as a linebacker last year.
3rd consecutive time.
Blackledge down the middle, incomplete. Intended for Stephon Page.
Dick, statistics sometimes really are unfair to, in particular, to these 2 teams' defenses. Seattle's team shows as 22nd in the league for last year's performance, and yet if you look at points allowed, they were number 1 in the AFC and actually led the Kansas City defense, which showed as the 8th best defense. But you have to take into account that they were smothered by the offensive performance of the league's worst offense. So they actually were better than a lot of the other defenses who weren't on the field as much.
What you're saying is that points allowed ought to be the measure.
I think it ought to be the measure.
Blackledge. Fumble. Young had it for a moment, and then it's covered by the Chiefs way back at the 20-yard line. Mark Addix finally gets the loose ball for the red and white.
And Freddie can't believe that he let that ball go. Made the hit. Blackledge lost the football, judged not to be a passing motion. Here it is. You'll get a quick look at it. Number 50 coming from the backside, and the ball just breaks loose. Freddie's got it right here. Ooh, broke it loose.
Clemens made a good job of knocking it away. We'll be right back after these messages from your local station.
This guy's not looking for awards. He's out for old-fashioned, go for it, justice. Who are you? Tonight, the Highwayman.
Bryant has some great reasons for replacing that worn-out air conditioner this fall. Special off-season prices and a red-hot $150 rebate. Or replace that old inefficient furnace before winter sets in and get up to 2 months of free gas. Or replace both and get both. Up to 2 months of free gas and a $150 cash rebate. From Bryant. Offer good on qualifying equipment at Humford Heating and Air Conditioning and CNC Refrigeration and Heating.
Bryant, the step up to a
Every 34 seconds, somebody buys a new Chevy Cavalier. In fact, before this day is through, over 1,000 people will drive away in new Cavaliers. There goes another one.
The big one's back, and Chevy's got it. 1.9% financing on this big choice of new Chevy cars and trucks, or up to $1,000 cash back. The big one could be the best reason to see your Chevy dealer now.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're facing a growing menace. Something that can strike anyone right in the middle of a bank card statement.
What? An annual fee?
The typical reaction to the dreaded annual fee. An isolated case, you say. Just listen.
This is an outrage!
Any time now, your Visa, your MasterCard can hit you with an annual fee. Protect yourself. Switch to a Commerce Special Connections Visa or MasterCard today. Don't let this happen to you.
Watch Geraldo, weekday mornings at 9 on TV4.
Yeah, the giveaways, takeaways. Last week, Seattle lost the ball 3 more times, and they got it at Denver and were beaten convincingly. And today it's been all Seattle in that department. Colbert, short kick. Edmonds runs into his own man. Ran into Tony Burse. It was that same collision. Check that, it wasn't Burse. It was Jenkins, Melvin Jenkins, 24. Last week it was Tony Burse, 34, in Denver on a kickoff that may have been the most critical play of the game. And this time on a full run, watch Edmonds run into his own man Jenkins, who's looking for a blocker.
He is anticipating the ball going deep and just didn't know where that ball carrier was. He backs right into him, and it looks like he may have twisted his knee.
33-yard punt. First play of the 4th quarter, timeout.
No better value? Absolutely. Our new Tandy 1000HX is made in the USA and designed to be one of the easiest to use PC compatibles ever. And it's priced for the home. Just how easy is it? Turn it on, it's ready to go. The whole family can use it for education, games, and budgeting. We even give you 7 programs to get started, including word processing, filing, and spreadsheet. Easy enough, no better value.
Tandy Computers, because there is no better value. Only at Radio Shack.
Every 3,000 miles, you can change your oil yourself, leave your car at the dealer, spend all day at the service station, or drive into Jiffy Lube with no appointment. In 10 minutes, the J-Team will change your oil with quality Pennzoil, replace the filter, lube the chassis, fill the important fluids, 14 quality services. Jiffy Lube turns an all-day oil change into a 10-minute family reunion.
Welcome to Jiffy Lube. We'll take care of you like family.
Nice flying, Greg.
Thanks.
So, you're really not going to do another tour?
Nah, Susan and I have made plans.
You're going to miss this place.
Sure, Doc. My mind's made up, all right?
Then I guess you're going to want this.
American accepted me. Looks like I'm going back to flight school.
I hope they know they're getting one of the best.
When you're something special, people know it.
Today's game is brought to you by Budweiser, Beechwood Age for that clean, crisp taste. This Bud's for you. By the Energizer Battery, good times never lasted longer. And by American Airlines, something special in the air.
The official paid attendance, 61,667. A few thousand didn't use their tickets in this sellout crowd at the Kingdome in Seattle. Dick Enberg with Merlin Olsen. All Seahawks, 37-7. More. All the way to the 35-yard line goes John L. Williams, and he's running like a man possessed in this second half. Lewis Cooper finally dragged him down.
Joey Hackett, who had such a brilliant week, Dino Hackett had such a brilliant week last week with 14 tackles and a sack, has overrun several times today. And you see the advent of the new block there, that pushing block by those offensive linemen, allowed to push that tackler past the hole. And that's really changed the way you've got to play the game.
First down at the 35. Williams again. Short yardage, but 5 at that. Cofield made the tackle. Kansas City in the third quarter, their offense generated a minus 14 yards. Seattle has scored on its last 6 possessions. That's how lopsided things have become.
There are those stats that you're talking about. And, of course, one of the things that Kansas City had been able to do all through the preseason and last week against San Diego was to control the clock. They had the ball more time than their opponents. Seattle, after having such a terrible second half against Denver last week, look what they've been able to do all through this game. They have not been denied many times. Woo.
Randall Morris back to the line of scrimmage, and then about 4 more close to a first down before Lewis Cooper can make the tackle.
Well, you've seen John L. Williams run the football. Now watch what else he does. He is a devastating blocker. Right here, just lowers himself down on Tim Cofield and puts him in motion in the wrong direction. Cofield able to get a hand on the Randall Morris, but not enough to bring him down.
Look at Williams' running total, 99 yards. That represents his best performance in his 2 years in Seattle.
So important to be able to give Kurt Warner a rest and to know that you have other offensive tools. And now, whichever team looks at this film, they've got to prepare for this man as well as Kurt Warner.
Trying to go over 100 the first time in the NFL. Here's his chance. Pickup of about 6 on the play to 105 yards. Williams' best last year was 72 yards. That came against Denver as he racked up 538 yards for the year.
John L. Williams came into the league and was instantly productive for Chuck Knox and for these Seattle Seahawks. A smart football player, a hard-working football player who came with good fundamentals. And he has just really been a valuable addition.
#1 pick out of Florida. And how about those Gators yesterday? A big upset at Alabama.
You got the concern as a very grave Kansas City sideline.
496! 496!
Oh, Williams plowing to another first down before Jack Del Rio and Bill Moss can make the tackle.
John Paul Young talked before the game about the importance of not overrunning the hole. Hackett coming inside, just handled by Blair Bush, who gets his hands on him and pushes him out of the way. You saw the push right there by 59 Bush, opening the hole for Hackett. They call this defense the flexible 4-3. I don't think they meant flexible for the offense to mold, but that is what they have done.
That's a number that Frank Gans hoped would have been reversed today. He wanted his team to get the 100 yards rushing, but they've been basically shut down. Williams earning a couple more before Tim Cofield, who was shaken earlier back in the game, number 54, and Art Still can collaborate. Well, this is the team in blue, the Seahawks, that many picked to be the AFC representative in the Super Bowl. Didn't play like it last week at Denver, but boy, they have been tough on both sides of the line of scrimmage today.
Well, they were embarrassed, quite frankly, and particularly in the second half last week, as Denver really blew them out. They came back this week and did the things they did not do last week. They have taken the ball away. They have protected their quarterback. Craig has had a flawless day, and their defense has just really been magnificent.
Tony Burse and Randall Morris, the running back. This is Burse inside the 10, a 12th round pick out of Middle Tennessee State. He was basically a blocker in college, and he beat out a very popular player here, Eric Lane, to win a spot on this roster because of his special teams and the fact that he's not a bad runner.
Dick, you talked about how tough the Seattle Seahawks are at home, having last year a 7-1 record, bettered only by one team in the NFL. But did you know that Knox, in his time here, has only lost to 2 AFC West teams in this dome? Denver on 2 occasions. Kansas City hasn't beaten them. The Raiders have not beaten him here. And San Diego has not beaten him here. Now that's pretty impressive.
Indeed it is. And off to Williams. Got a blocker. A good play by Kansas City's Deron Cherry, who filtered his way through, and along with Dino Hackett's move traversing the field, stopping it shy of a first down, and on comes Norm Johnson for another field goal try. Johnson is 3 for 4, connecting on 34 yards, on 46 yards. And 25 yards. This one will be about 26. Right down the middle. 26-yard field goal by Norm Johnson. 4 for 5 today, and Seattle builds its lead.
What rockin' evening. That's a silver bullet.
Band sure is loud.
Oh, thanks. I just bought it.
Want to dance?
No, they got Coors Light.
You can't hear me, can you? I think you're beautiful. In fact, I think you look so hot in here, isn't it? Of course, it's not so much the heat as it is the humidity. No slowing down with the silver bullet tonight.
If your home was destroyed, would your insurance pay to completely rebuild it? Fact is, even with an inflation clause, your policy may not cover today's higher rebuilding costs.
Leave it to the good hands, people.
Allstate can make sure you're protected. With an Allstate home replacement cost guarantee, we'll pay to completely rebuild your home, no matter what the cost.
You're in good hands with Allstate.
A member of the Sears Financial Network.
When you're working on your American dream, you want it to last forever.
Anderson Windows have helped build American dreams for over 80 years.
We take the time to build the best. That's what we've always been. Come home to quality. Come home to Anderson.
Where can you go to buy Anderson Windows? Call 1-800-255-2550.
This guy's not looking for awards. He's out for old-fashioned, go for it, justice. Who are you? Tonight, the Highwayman.
40-7, Seattle. Got a lot of time yet to go. It's been all Seahawks.
It's been a very tough day for the Kansas City Chiefs, and certainly a couple of players I've enjoyed watching. One getting a start today, Rich Baldinger, got a brother on that team down there. And Gary is a defensive lineman, doesn't get to play much, does play a lot of special teams. Mike Tice's brother had a big day today.
John Tice had 2 touchdown catches for the New Orleans Saints, although they lost to Philadelphia. And Mike has his first touchdown in a couple of years here for Seattle. So it's Brother's Day. Barely back to the 20 is Paul Palmer. And, of course, Merlin and his brother Phil helping us here in the booth. And at one time you had 3 Olsens in the NFL.
In fact, my last year in '76, Phil was playing in Denver, and my youngest brother Orrin was wearing a Kansas City Chief helmet, playing for the Chiefs, mostly on special teams, but still has fond memories. Phil tells me that when the Denver Broncos played the Chiefs, he beat up on Orrin. I told him he was a bully.
Yeah, he was a little kid in the family. He was only 235.
Yeah, just a small one. Just a small one.
Veteran Bill Kenny at the controls for Kansas City underneath the Herman Bird. And a pair of 44s, and the one worn by Bosworth had a little more charge in it.
Early in the game, when we talked about Frank Gantz's decision to platoon his quarterbacks, I said then I felt that that's a very difficult thing, because changing a quarterback isn't like changing a baseball pitcher. You change the cadence. You change the emotional makeup of an offensive team. And even though these two men have divergent talents, certainly Kenny the better passer of the two, it's very difficult for a team.
With a flag down, gets to the 30-yard line, and Seattle has really defensed Christian Okoye. It's been a different game for him this week than the one last in Kansas City. Waiting for the announcement.
It takes a while to sort things out.
Number 23, Illegal use of the hands. 5 yards, first down.
Automatic first down goes with a penalty against Patrick Hunter. Giants and Dallas in a dogfight in the Meadowlands. And the Raiders trying to become, after only the second week, the only unbeaten team in the AFC West, the way things are going. Minnesota has its lead cut in half at Anaheim, and St. Louis has scored 17 in a row to make it tighter at San Diego. All the scores before we leave the air today. If we have time, we'll go back to NFL Live. Kenny out to Okoye. Flag down. And Okoye bombed at the 47 of Seattle by Greg Gaines and Patrick Hunter. It was Hunter who made the hit.
It looked like we may have had an illegal block by Rich Baldinger, number 77.
And they're going to call it back as Okoye registers some punishment of his own, as Fred Young slow getting up as well.
Number 44, holding. 10 yards, still first
Herman
down.
Hurd, the man that, but look at the end of that play as Greg Gaines just really put a whump. Okoye is saying, wait a minute, I'm the one who's supposed to deliver that kind of blow. It's a learning experience. You know, he's been compared in some ways to Earl Campbell, the bull of a back that played so long for the Houston Oilers and who devastated linebackers around the league. It's unfair to compare the two. I think Campbell had played more football by the time he got to high school than Okoye has played. 3 years, he is just learning. I think what's nice about that young man, he's bright, he is eager, he wants to play this game, and I think before he's through, he's going to make his mark in the NFL.
That's the feeling of everyone on this Kansas City squad. Deep to Page. Almost intercepted. Eugene Robinson, or on the deflection. Did it hit the ground? Apparently not.
It looked to me like it hit the ground, but maybe it hit an ankle or a leg or something.
And another turnover for the Seattle Seahawks. That was a freak interception.
The kind of a pass that is telegraphed. Stephon Page getting good man-to-man coverage. Watch the end of this play now. There'll be two defenders, and it's Eugene Robinson batting it in the air, bounces off his feet, and goes right to Hunter. That is an unusual play.
A kick save. Hockey fans in Canada.
You've probably heard that Coors isn't pasteurized. Well, it's true. It's also true that Coors is the only major brewer who won't pasteurize any of their beer. The reason? Taste. See, when you pasteurize something, you heat it. And heating hurts the taste of beer. So Coors purifies without heat. That helps make Coors a little less heavy, never bitter, but with all the spirit of a great beer. So when you want a beer, it's just plain better. Coors is the one.
What's the longest lasting battery you can buy? I'm gonna surprise ya! You Energizer! Don't surprise ya! You Energizer! Oh, you stop the test! You Energizer was best! Lasted longer than all the rest! Too right! You Energizer! You Energizer! It'll surprise ya! It'll surprise ya!
Laboratory tests prove in most devices, Energizer lasts longer than any other battery. New Energizer. Fight!
Engine repairs are not cheap, but they may be preventable with Fram WearGuard oil filters, a leading consumer magazine rated Fram Best. So pay a few dollars now or a lot later.
Take good care of your car, but forget your brakes. Might as well do this. Bendix brakes pass tougher tests than any law requires, so think about Bendix. The sooner, the better.
Luck or design on this interception?
Well, you remember that little hacky sack ball you kick around? That's the drill right there. Eugene Robinson just kicks it back to Patrick Hunter, and it's another turnover for this Seattle defense.
At the 45-yard line, and the turnovers have all come in Kansas City territory. That's been the crucial part. Randall Morris ran right over Albert Lewis, and 12 yards for Morris. He's their emergency quarterback, played quarterback at Long Beach Poly High School down in Southern California.
This will be the kind of film that will be used extensively, you can believe, in the highlight film that Seattle puts together at the end of this season. Of course, if the strike takes place and continues for a long time, this may be the end of the season. Who knows?
Well, not apparently the end, but could be the end for these players. The owners have announced that after a week off, if there is a strike and no settlement, that they will field teams and the games will count toward the Super Bowl.
Jeff Kemp in as quarterback.
Tony Burst. Let's check those baseball scores. The Cardinals solidify the fact that they have at least a game and a half lead, and in the, well, just in the 14th inning, Pittsburgh, and that's got to be a stunning loss to the Mets. The Pirates in the 14th beat the Mets 9-8, so that gives the Cardinals a 2.5 game lead, and with Montreal losing, the Birds have a 3-game edge over the Expos. Kansas City, well, they'll be 1-1. Beaten thoroughly, but it counts as only one. Morris and Burst, the running backs, with Kemp an all-new backfield for Seattle. The 28-yard line. A couple of yards.
A few changes in that offensive line as well. Chance to kind of clear the decks a little bit. Grant Fiesel in at center, getting a little bit of work in there. They're worried, of course, about backing up Blair Bush should he go down.
Oakland beats Kansas City. The Royals, a week and a half ago, appeared to be in a position to make a run, but they faltered as well, and the A's keep their hopes alive. Detroit loses, Toronto wins, so the Blue Jays are now a half game in first place in the East. For the Saturday game of the week next Saturday, it'll be Toronto and Detroit for most of the country. Jeff Kemp down on a sack, and that'll be, I believe, the first sack of the day for Kansas City. Well, they actually have three. They actually have three, a couple early in the game. Gary Baldinger, one of the Baldinger boys from Wake Forest, makes the sack. And there's the Rat Man, R-A-T, Russell Arthur Tillman.
They call his troops the Rat Patrol. And there's Ed Beckman. The one thing those two men have in common, they earned their living on the special teams of the NFL. They were inspirational players. They do a good job of inspiring their special teams players on these two teams.
49 yards for Johnson. He's got it. 5 field goals for Norm Johnson. 25, 26, 34, 46, and 49 yards.
And except for a bad snap earlier, he might have had 6 today.
That is a new club record, 5 field goals in a game for Norm Johnson, who kicked at UCLA.
That's a perfect snap. You see the ball down quickly. You've got to drive that ball when you need that long distance. And of course, Johnson with a very strong leg, although he's going to be sore tomorrow. Has a groin injury that kept him out for 3 weeks. And when he kicks a lot, he really comes back with a sore groin the next day. I've got a feeling he's going to be awful sore tomorrow.
Well, but those 5 field goals are pretty good salve.
But happy, you bet.
43-7, and with 4 minutes 6 seconds left, all left is a possible cosmetic score for Kansas City. We'll give you all the scores right after the kickoff for those of you who might be joining us late from around the country. And also want to review Merlin's thoughts about the strike, that he feels that the ownership has their strongest, and in his term, militant types, as well as the union, and that perhaps the way to settle a strike situation is to put in new teams, new negotiating teams. Johnson to Palmer. Boy, that has been the dizziest connection of the game. Palmer and Johnson, for the second time in the game, saved a possible touchdown. The kicker for the Seahawks just did clip the ankles of Palmer as he was taking off.
I was watching Ed Beckman on the sideline, and you could almost see him. He wanted to run out and throw that last block. It's got to be hard for a guy like he and Rusty Tillman, who showed you their faces a moment ago, to watch their troops performing and to see things happening that they can't impact. They can't go out there and throw their bodies in.
Speaking of impact, Palmer is going to be that kind of player on kick return.
You bet he is.
Another 35 yards on that one. Close to being a big one. Kenny goes deep to Carson, complete at the 48-yard line, and a flag. 2 flags go down. While they settle out the penalty, here are the finals from earlier. Cleveland, a big winner at home. The Bears had trouble for a while with Tampa Bay, but then with Walter Payton, a couple of touchdowns, beat the Bucks. And Denver and Green Bay, a rarity in the NFL, in overtime, a tie. The 49ers in an incredible 27-26 win, final play of the game. But the fact they even had the ball in Cincinnati territory with 2 seconds left, well, that's another whole story. Miami wins at Indianapolis. Atlanta, after being crushed by Tampa Bay, comes back and stuns highly favored Washington 21-20. Buffalo outscores Houston, and it was the Eagles over New Orleans. We'll give you the late scores after this play. Penalties were against Seattle, and the play goes first down outside the 47. Kenny, a draw play to Larry Moriarty, and he runs right through Kenny Easley and has apparently another first down.
You can have a lot of fun defensively when you know what a team is going to have to do. Of course, right now you see Kenny Easley right up on the line, Eugene Robinson up on the line. But watch them. Just before the snap, they'll drop out of there. They have tried to sucker Kenny into a bad call. Kenny would have no part of it. Hands off on the draw play to his fullback, and ends up making a fairly decent gain on the play.
9.5 yards, second and short. Moriarty into the pass pattern, incomplete to Michael Clemens, a rookie from William & Mary's, a little guy at 5'5" and 166. Other late scores in the fourth. The Giants a 1-point advantage over the Cowboys. The Raiders have opened a 20-7 lead over Detroit, trying to start 2-0. Minnesota's lead cut to 14-13. They had led 14-0. And San Diego, once they had 28-0, finds the Cardinals trying to rally. Here, no rally for Kansas City. It's been Seattle. The closest that the Chiefs came was 10-7 in the second quarter. And since then, 33 unanswered points by the Seahawks. 2:45 left. Third and inches. Okoye. First down to the 28. Terry Taylor with a tackle after a 10-yard gain. That's Okoye's longest run.
Okoye heading for the sideline. Talking to Todd Blackledge before the game, Dick, he mentioned the debriefing that takes place after each practice and each game, and he said that they're tough. He said often we talk about the grief of debrief. Well, I'm afraid, Todd, you haven't seen anything yet. You may have to get some relief from the grief of debrief after this one.
Yes, your guest of the sportscasting world. Jonathan Hayes to the 21. And the 2-minute timeout right now. Score with 2 minutes left. 43-7, Seattle.
AT&T, the right choice.
In Super Bowl 17, the Dolphins neutralized John Riggins in the second half. Down 17-13 in the fourth quarter, Washington faces a 4th and 1. Should they give the ball to Riggins or try Theismann on a quarterback sneak? What would you do?
This whole situation's running me ragged. I just found out I can't add any phones onto my new phone system. So now I've got 4 real estate agents working off the same desk on the same phone. I hate to think how much business I'm losing.
What did you decide? Washington went with John Riggins, who got the first down and more as the Diesel lumbered for the decisive touchdown as Washington made the right choice.
He is the most enigmatic of athletes. Ask him of his victory and he will praise his partner. Mention his role and he'll reply with a smile, I was just riding to work.
Our Most Valuable Player Award sponsored by Budweiser. Today's MVP, 112 yards rushing, his NFL high, John L. Williams. from the University of Florida for the Seattle Seahawks. Budweiser will make a contribution to the United Way on behalf of all the MVPs selected in today's games. Jonathan Hayes, the Chiefs' backup tight end, helped off the field. This is only the second distance march by Kansas City in the entire game. The other was the 74-yard march for a touchdown back in the second quarter. Blackledge hit Carson 10 yards for the score. Kenny on top, incomplete through the hands of Stephon Page. Now let's look at the Seahawks. For those of you who have joined us late, this is an NBC edition this year. The report card kind of gives you an idea how the game has flowed. Craig had a marvelous game, missing on only 6 throws, and 2 or 3 of those were clean drops. 152 yards, 3 TDs, no intercepts. Williams, the rushing leader, 112 yards and a score. Turner, 3 catches, 2 of them for touchdowns. Largent had 2 catches in the game. And Johnson 5 for 6, and his 6th try hit the crossbar.
I think there are a lot of A-pluses on that card for today.
It'll be a happy coaching crew, unlike the one we saw yesterday in the Seattle camp. 3rd down and 4. And up the middle goes Moriarty, the big fullback, in for Okoye. 1st down. Well, the Kansas City card, not so glowing. Blackledge, who was 6 for 15 last week against San Diego, 8 for 15 today.
Does have a touchdown today.
Okoye, who had over 100 yards last week, gets 30 today. 5 turnovers led to 23 points. The 5 turnovers were on the Kansas City half of the field. That's total disaster. Kenny deflected, but still caught by Henry Marshall, the veteran wide receiver, who is now only a couple away from the Kansas City record of Otis Taylor. Let's go to NFL Live in New York.
All right, Dick. Well, we have a chance. A quick check on the race in the National League East. The Cardinals beat the Cubs in St. Louis 10-2. It took 14 innings, but the Pirates, after trailing 6-2, beat the Mets 9-8. And the Phillies beat the Expos in Montreal 4-1. With 2 weeks remaining in the race, the Cards lead the Mets by 2.5, the Expos by 3. Back to Dick and Merlin.
And we have a timeout here at the Kingdom with 1:12 left, and Kansas City trying to at least get 14.
A tradition of horsepower. Miss Budweiser and the king of beers. A tradition of horsepower that's making waves. Racing fans, this Bud's for you.
Second down and 6 for Kansas City at the Seattle 10. Bill Kenny to Carson for the touchdown. Is he in? Yes. Carlos Carson, his 2nd touchdown catch today for all of the Chiefs' points. 10 yards on the play. Comes with 1:07 left. And interestingly, exactly the same distance of the other score.
Strangely enough, the score almost exactly the opposite to what Seattle experienced last week when they gave up 40 points. Improved their performance dramatically today. They'll still be upset about giving up that touchdown. You never want to give your opponent anything. Carson doing a good job of catching that ball under pressure.
Should have had his report card number up there. If he might be the only one that got a B today. Lowry's extra point. He has now kicked 127 in a row. Gary Anderson of the Steelers has the record. Well, the crowd filtering out with a Seattle win. We wondered next week if it'll look like this or look like this. Well, let's hope. The part that I didn't really say my 2 cents worth about the strike. The free agency in baseball led to higher salaries, more money that it costs the owners, and more money to players. And if they can get more money, fine. But I find it hard to feel sorry for players wanting more money. I think they are well paid. And it's difficult when you look at, well, just take one other fraternity, the teaching profession. In a year, don't make as much money as most of these players make in a game. it's hard for me to be sympathetic with the players from the standpoint of wanting more money. I really feel they're paid rather well.
Well, Dick, that's one area in which I can disagree with you, because I think it's right for a man to have the opportunity to shop his talent to other people, to the highest bidder. And I don't care what that talent is. If you're a good teacher, you're entitled to go to other schools and say, I'd like to go to work here. If you'll pay me more, I'll come to work here. If you're an artist, you're entitled to sell your works for what they're worth. These athletes whose careers last less than 5 years on the average have the right, in my opinion, to the opportunity to shop around to see what their talents are worth. They do pay with their bodies and their souls in a very hazardous profession.
But most of them take advantage of being an athlete to go on to do very nice things in other occupations. You're a good example of that. Many athletes who go into public relations or advertising have an advantage over those who aren't athletes.
Well, we better pay a little attention to an onside kick, which was unsuccessful. A good job by Seattle special teams of anticipating, being ready, and getting that ball on the sideline.
Kenny easily covered it, and it'll be a Seattle's ball, I believe.
But again, Dick, let's watch this play. Watch how quickly Easley is on this ball, and you put people on that field who have good hands. They're receivers, they're linebackers, they're defensive backs, and you see Easley, who has excellent athletic ability and great hands, just snapping that ball up like a third baseman.
That was a tough bounce. That was not an easy play for him to cover that one.
Just a final comment to tail into what you said. I don't agree that there are great opportunities. I think it's very difficult for the 12-month-a-year athlete of today to adjust to the real world. I think he's going to have a lot of help. That was not so true of the athletes that I was playing with. There are the turnovers. They are indeed the story of this game. And if I were Frank Gans, the thing that would concern me, not this loss. You can forget one loss. It's the fact that his team, his veteran team, may have to wait weeks to get back on the field, and they're going to have to live with this loss. That is going to be very difficult, very depressing for them. You can't stand waiting for another game when you have played this badly.
Well, the takeaways were a story for these two teams in the last 3 years and continue today as Seattle best in the business since '83 when Chuck Knox arrived here in Seattle. Back to the strike business. To me, thinking in terms of the short careers of a football player, the direction should be toward ensuring their families and themselves in the future, pensions, retirement. That's where I would like to see the money placed. That to me seems an area where maybe a compromise can be made rather than the free agency.
Well, it's certainly an area that the Players Association is interested in, and an area in which the owners have been willing to make concessions. But I think what we can possibly hope to see is maybe not a total unfettered free agency, but certainly the ability of an athlete who has played a certain period of time to move if he's unhappy. I mean, that's what we have today is a form of slavery, if you will, for the
pretty high-paid
slaves. But nevertheless, when you are told this is the only place you can play, and we don't care whether you're happy or not, is that the American way?
Yeah, but most of the players who are unhappy quickly get traded or released, do they not? I mean, if you're really unhappy, a coach isn't going to put up with it.
Not necessarily. The Boz was one of those that almost was able to call his shot because of his unusual situation. But most athletes don't have a say. Don't really have a say. You could call every team in the NFL and say, I won't play for you. I don't want to go. It's the only team I want to go to. Well, Phil did that. My brother Phil did that. Called some team, sent letters to him, said, I wouldn't want to play for you. One of the teams he sent a letter like that to was New England. They said, we don't care. They drafted him first anyway.
Well, Bosworth said he didn't want to play in Seattle, but wound up signing.
Well, and I think he's going to be happy here, too. But what if he was unhappy? Shouldn't he have a right to go somewhere else?
Well, yeah, it becomes a matter of where do the owners run the show and where do the players, maybe.
Well, I do have sympathies with the owners because I think every man who invests the amount of money it takes to build an NFL franchise deserves to make a profit, deserves to run his team like a business. But sometimes they're not run like businesses, and that irritates me.
Now, there are, as Frank DeFord's essay indicated, he pinpointed some of the owners he feels that have not been successful in running the franchises and still can make money without maybe doing the job.
Well, quite frankly, why don't we talk about incentives for winners and penalties for losers?
Hey, that's a pretty good debate. We got to go. Our hearts are pumping here. Final seconds. Andy Rosenberg, Larry Cirillo, our director and producer today in the Kingdom. And it's been all Seahawks. Our thanks to the Cord to Costanza, George Verichak, Barry Culver, Frank Manthow, Phil Olsen in the booth. John L. Williams running. Dave Craig's passing. Chuck Knox is now the number 10 all-time in coaching wins in the regular season. Frank Gans in his career is 1-1. Knox has just won his 131st.